Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pilot Show episode number 133. EU friendly, like pretty much all of them are going to be EU friendly. I'm going to be your host for today, Kevin McCoy, also known as Rodem, and I am joined by three lovely guests. The main thing that we're going to talk about today are the maps. There is some drama around the maps, TLMC, all the judges suck, nobody cares, it's unfair, and we're going to dive deep into it. And of course, on top of that, we're going to go over a lot of other things. We've got a little Q&A somewhere in between. And also, we're going to do a proper sellout, right, Cobra? We're going to get some Patreon supporters. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. It should be a fun episode, obviously a bit different than last week, but I'm excited for it. First up, let me go ahead and introduce Silicon Valley Crusher during the day and StarCraft 2 Passion Lord at night. Fear Dragon, what's up, matey?
What's up, Kev? We don't talk about my Silicon Valley money job because I'm supposed to be working right now. So we're quietly pretending that we're working while we sit on the Pylon Show and talk about StarCraft.
After your appearance on Pig Stream, where you said you've got Silicon Valley money, bitches, I don't think we can ever let this one go. Fear Dragon. No, thank you for joining us. I know that you're obviously always very involved in the community, and I think you're a great guy to have on to talk about stuff like this, because I know it's near and dear to your heart. Next up, probably the man with the best looking stream on Twitch. Take that up, Tree Zelda. It is my Canadian buddy, Juggernaut Jason. How are we doing, Jason?
Couldn't agree more. My stream is absolutely higher quality than Epatry Zelda. I'm doing pretty good. I was actually pretty worried. I got my second vaccine dose yesterday, so I for sure thought I would be out today. But I'm actually feeling pretty decent, just a little tired. So let's do it, dude. Talk about drama.
Happy to hear that, mate. I actually got my first vaccine dose yesterday. And I'm actually, I wasn't too worried. I'm feeling really fine, other than the weird obsession to activate Microsoft Windows all day, every day. I wake up, I want to activate it. I've been buying Microsoft Office. I don't know what's going on, but other than that, I'm feeling totally fine. And last but not least, we've got a brand new face, I believe. Someone who's never been on the Pylon Show before. It is Kantu. Kantu, first of all, awesome that you're here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to all of our lovely viewers?
Yeah, no, I am generally in the shadows when it comes to all map things. I'm one of the moderators of the Mapper Circle Discord server, and I have been making maps and just doing map making things since the Wings of Liberty beta. In the last, I am probably the worst and the best person that you can blame for all your map related needs. In the past, it might have been Avex, and now it's me. I've been a volunteer TLMC assistant judge, and now I've been more or less lead judge because I have the more experience when it comes to map making, because I was a map maker. I did Foxtrot Labs and Echo. Both maps were made 5 years ago, so I'm sure newer players might not be aware of them. And I made lots of different maps, and I just generally help out with both a map making side and administrative side for TLMC, for general all map related needs. If, for example, anyone wants to join the Discord, and please keep it lurk, use the old lurk more type archetype. And you can go join into mapcave.net/discord, mapcave.net/discord, and you can join there with all the other map makers. We will be also probably cheering for me here, because I'll be fighting fist to fist with Jason and Rotterdam a little bit. And no, I love Jason.
Not really, though.
What a shot.
Yeah.
No, it's all good, mate. I think it's obviously awesome to have you here, because it'd be silly to just have two pro gamers and a caster on and then talk about maps and talk about TLMC. So I'll be real with you guys. I don't even know where to truly start. I guess we can kick things off by just explaining that the Team Liquid map making contest is something that's been running for a very long time. There's a competition, and then at the end, a couple of maps make it through, and then some of those maps are the maps that you're going to see on the ladder. And if you see them on the ladder, you will also see them in professional tournaments. So the TLMC is actually a
Yeah.
very important part of the entire scene overall, not just the pro scene, but also the community part of it. A couple months ago, we had our big announcement. Shopify is joining up with ESL. They're gonna make StarCraft great again. They're gonna support, obviously, the weekly tournaments. Got a slight increase in prize pool and a couple of other things. And the TLMC contest was also mentioned in that because it was a very important part of it all, and they saw it as an just something that they truly needed to support and make sure that it stuck around and it got better. Now, recently we had our first brand new TOMC contest. Wadi has also been running a pro tournament around it. However, I feel like that tournament was almost overshadowed by a big post of Ziggurat of Yor, I believe is his name. It's too long to really dive into it properly, but the man wrote a very long post on Team Liquid. And I think the TLDR of it was that it sucks, okay? The judging is unfair, the judges are bad, nobody spends time on it, everything is not very transparent, and nobody really knows what's happening, but the bottom line of it all is that it's almost a waste of time for map makers because their effort doesn't get valued and they don't get a fair shot. And that's kind of where we're going to dive into our discussion today, I guess. Kontu, why don't you kick things off by talking to us a little bit about that post, and is that sentiment shared by all the map makers?
Generally, yeah. Generally, yeah. But it is very important to understand that there are different types of groups, there are different types of tastes in the community. So you have generally 5 groups. You have the map makers, you have spikes, you have spectators, you have devs, and you have teamies. This is like a little bit hijacked from a blog post that Mark Rosewater made for Magic the Gathering and understanding psychographic groups. As a bit important thing that I forgot to mention in my intro, I'm not with ESL either, so I'm just like a volunteer that has been helping out with this for like many years. So when it comes to the groups themselves, the TLMC is like a culmination of many of those groups coming together and picking maps for the map pool. You, for example, have the first layer that are map makers that like more non-standard maps that might be maybe not Dasan Station, but like Golden Wall, for example. You have the plug gamers such as you, Roddy, or Juggernaut Jason that will play on like fighting spirits for the next 15 years if
That's
if
not me,
they
mate.
didn't
That's
got
not
born,
me.
or if it that's well, not even Artosis at this point. But if it didn't got like that edge of unbalance towards the run or that kind of thing. But anyhow, that's the players, the pro players. Then you have devs, that is kind of a bigger group, that is just for example, the dev team, and it might be you, or it might be ASL, or it might be like big managers at ESL, Team Liquid, that just like see like long term and stability for the map pool and that kind of thing. And then we have spectators and teamies, which teamies are just like your gold league player that just like wants some variance now and then, and you're a spectator that just wants like the pro players to suffer and be there for their for their enjoyment. So there is like those, no, they hate you, Jason. They just want you to like, dance for pennies. But that's the case. That's how it works. That's more or less the 5 groups. So TLMC first picks the maps made from the map makers, and they will have some variants. So you will have some non-standard maps in there.
Can we
Then
go back
those
real
maps,
quick? Like, who
carry on.
are TOMC? Who are the judges? Can you like maybe explain that a little bit?
Exactly. The second layer, that because the maps are submitted, we receive like 100 maps, like 180 almost. Not, we have never reached 200, but like it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then we have the TLMC is composed of map makers, of pro players. It used to be composed of devs, that it was the dev team, and then the dev team would like see the long term for the entire map pool and map pool management, that kind of thing, because no one else had the capabilities of managing that. So in this case, you have those 3 groups that are more or less controlling the map pool. So that's what the teams enjoy. For example, if there are too many non-standard maps in the map pool, and your in your gold league players, they get bored, or silver league or platinum or diamond, they get bored because it's the same standard thing that has been played for like 10 years, such as fighting spirit. Um, they will start riot, and you can see this clearly. Like every 6 months, there are some Reddit threads that you see popping up, and then they disappear again once the new non-standard maps enter into the map pool. So there is like certainly the degrees of satiation and exhaustion for both groups. So if you have too many standard maps, Juggernaut Jason or maybe Cats is always rioting for non-standard maps, and that's good. They might get tired of having too many standard maps, and they want like some variation. So the satiation point for standard maps got filled. Meanwhile, the people that like the standard maps, they reach their exhaustion point, and they just don't want anymore. So you have the two forces trending, and then it generates like some big strong cycles. So that's TLMC. It's supposed to like more or less not fix this, but provide some entrance into the system. Like back then, I'm sure you will remember, like all of you, because you are like old school memers. We had like Daybreak or Cloud Kingdom or Antigua Shipyard for like almost a year, 2 years almost, when Wings of Liberty was like finishing up, and we were like getting the startup of the Team Liquid Map contests. And for those that are not, I've been in a long diatribe, but for those that are not aware, the Team Liquid Map contest is a contest that runs like once a year, more or less, and it's open to everybody. So if you have never made a map, you can just go join mapcave.net /Discord, and you will go join into the Discord server with all the other map makers, and you can like start playing around with them in the editor. But this contest is just designed for like everybody, so everybody can have like a cool idea and just send it to the Team Liquid Map contest. Then it will be judged by pro gamers, by streamers, by casters, by me as well a little bit. And then from that, it will go into the development team, which will pick the finalists that after the 16s are chosen. So, and from those finalists, and sometimes GSL maps, or sometimes not even finalist maps, because they want like that extra bit of flavor that maybe didn't make it in. So, and then from that, they make the map pools. So one thing that I always read about that is like a misconception that the maps are made for by Blizzard. That used to be the case. Jason, Fear Dragon, Rotterdam, In Control back then used to rage against the Blizzard made maps. So now it's community handled, and that's when it enters into the Sigurat question. So Rotterdam, if you want to like recap more or less the
Yes.
question, please.
All right, I really appreciate the history, the walk down memory lane there of
Yeah.
how we get to our map pool. I do think it's important because maybe we kind of get it, but I guess a lot of people at home don't really know how we get to certain maps. But that kind of leads us to today. So we have the TLMC. We all think it's awesome. I actually want to see crazy map pools, and something that I've been fighting for a long time is that Blizzard needs to stop only giving us 3 new maps after we had the same map pool for a year. I would be totally in favor of 7 new maps, and I don't give a rat's ass if 2 of them completely suck. I would much rather have a very fresh feeling than play another season on Romanticide, because I swear to God, I'm gonna grab my carry and hit myself with it in the head if I have to play another season on Romanticide. So I'm actually more in favor of like the community, and I understand that pro players want to keep it standard and simple, but we'll dive into that later. That's, I think, a discussion for down the lane. Recently, we had a map making contest. I have to admit that Vax Angel did reach out to me, and he's like, "Hey, Roddy, do you want to help judging?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. When is it?" And I just see an overwhelming amount of maps, and like it's very simple to me. Like if somebody would reach out to me and be like, "Hey, Roddy, we've got 10 maps. Let us know which 3 or 4 you like the best." That works for me, right? Because I can play 2, 3, 4 games on all 10 maps. I can do that. I cannot, while I'm traveling to Sweden casting a DreamHack tournament, take a look at 120 maps. Like, I'd rather say nothing than only look at pictures and say whether I like it or not, because that's not what I do. Like, I want to play on them. If I give my opinion, I want to be damn certain about my opinion. Now, that's, I think, kind of where the drama starts of the big post that we had on Team Liquid, where basically they said, the contest is not fair. We all submit our maps, and then suddenly there are only 16 maps left, and the judges don't care, and it's not very transparent about what's happening. And this is maybe where we can head into Jason. Because Jason, you actually replied on Twitter as well. You're like, yo, this is pretty messed up, man. I actually put a lot of time and effort into selecting
Yeah.
these maps. So why don't you start off with first, how did they contact you? Since when have you been part of this? And
Let me
talk to me
hijack.
about how
Let
you
me
go from
hijack a little
120
bit.
maps to 16 maps. Yeah, sorry, Kantu. Yeah, go ahead then,
Let
Kantu.
me let me hijack a little bit. I just
Okay.
want to make note that Jason did like a lot of work, and he judged through his birthday. So please carry it away, Jason. You have all the rage. Please
Oh,
whip the map
this is
makers.
setting me up too much here. I'm just like a guy now. Okay, so essentially, I didn't really get personally offended at it. The reason I got really mad to the point that I made a Twitter post is because this guy made a TL thread kind of generalizing all of the judges together as lazy. Um, and I don't think that promotes more people wanting to judge, or the people that already judged. I don't think it promotes them wanting to come back and judge again in the future, which is kind of the main problem because there's really nobody that likes to respond and or reach out. And maybe there's a flaw in the system to like get more people to start to want to judge more, but the problem is that there's not a lot of people that want to do it right now. So the people that are judging are looking at, this season was 130 maps, and that takes a really long time to do. And what ended up happening, and I think this is where the drama kind of came in, is you had a Hero Marine who was a judge, I think, and he did a little bit, he talked about it on his stream or whatever. And people kind of noticed that he didn't put I think he said something about how he didn't like put a lot of thought into some things or some, I don't want to take anything out of context, but it came
No.
across that he didn't put a lot of time into it. But like, you can't, I don't know if I can blame Hero Marine or judges for that, because it is so much effort, and
You
they're
can.
trying, and they don't get paid for it. And he's trying to stream and practice and do all this at the same time. And he took a little bit of time to judge what he could in the time that he could. And I understand that it doesn't work out because there just isn't enough judges. Like, ideally, like you said, what we would want is like, you look at 10, 20 maps individually, and then you can actually look at those 10 to 20 maps instead of literally looking at a picture of 130 maps and being like, rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. So like, the point of his TL thread, I understand, is that he wants improvement in the system, which is definitely needed for sure. It's just that we shouldn't be shitting on the judges about it, because we need more of them, and this isn't like a healthy way to communicate our problems, which is why it triggered me into a Twitter post.
No, I can definitely get behind that, and I totally agree with everything you said. Like, I think reaching out to pro players is not bad because, yeah, sure, they might be a bit biased towards their own race, and we know that pro players sometimes are a bit boring because they do want to play on Cloud Kingdom and Lost and Found, which are really good maps. And Echo, I see you can't do good maps, but we obviously want variation. We want a bit of everything. But my main problem with all of this, before I really even read all of it and got into it, is that this is maybe the second time that they reached out to me, and it's the second time that they're basically asking me to give my opinion on 120 maps. And I think this is just where the biggest flaw of the entire contest is. You cannot ask like people that are busy, that have jobs, like for instance Fear Dragon. I know you're incredibly passionate, you would always take your time, but you run your own stuff, you have a full-time job. How can anyone expect you to rate 120 maps fairly? Because that's kind of what it all boils down to, right? We want it to be fair, we want to be transparent, but who has time to test 120 maps? Like, this is kind of where the whole issue lies, if you ask me.
Yeah, I actually, to echo exactly what you're saying, like Kantu, I know you've actually, I don't know if you remember, you've reached out to me, asked if I wanted to cast, or sorry, not cast, to like be a judge for TLMC and stuff, and I actually just said like, no, I don't think I have the time to like go over and actually do justice to all the maps, and also, I think there's like, it kind of goes back to what Jason was saying. There's a lot of judgment of the judges that kind of comes together. Like, you don't really, it's really, really not an ideal situation where you want to make a choice and say like, oh, like I really like, okay, I'm gonna say something controversial. I actually liked a lot of Dasan Station. I didn't like all of Dasan Station, but I liked any time the game went past like 3 bases and it got past the insanely stupid like early game rush stuff. I thought it was a really interesting and cool map. But that is not an opinion that most people have. So like, do I vote with that kind of stuff? And in which case, if I vote with those kind of opinions and I like those kind of controversial style maps that are like different in certain ways that people really, really are not on mass are not on board with, like, yeah, you'll probably get a lot of shit and you'll get a lot of flack for that kind of stuff. So it's like it's going back to what Jason was saying, like super it's not a good feeling to judge the maps, and you're not really getting a whole lot in return for it either. So it's tough because it's like, how do you evaluate all the maps with like a fair amount of bias that like you're representing your opinions and your beliefs and stuff to represent whatever demographic that you're supposed to represent, but also somehow put in the correct amount of time and like not actually get anything real reward from it. It's really, really frustrating. And I actually really like what you were saying, Roddy, because I think the time period of how many maps there are to evaluate every like year, as Kantu was saying, is a lot. And I've actually been thinking more about like if I were to run an event to try and like gradually introduce maps in. If it was like, imagine that every like week, all right, this is like the super extreme end of it. Imagine every week we had a tournament where like there's only 2 maps, right? There's only 2 maps for the entire tournament. Players are just picking between those 2 maps. And it's like you'd gradually get like 2 times 52 maps, like 100 and like 4 maps. Wow, good at math. 104 maps over the course of a year, and that's like on a very gradual, scaled basis. With like pros can enter into like a tournament and stuff, but that requires a lot of administrative work and a lot of other like prize pool and all that other stuff. But I feel like there must be some kind of middle ground where we can do like a more gradual churning through this process.
All right. So I understand that in all 3 of you guys are allowed to give your opinion about this. The way that I thought about this, right, is why don't we leave map makers to do what they do best? And even though they might be a bit biased when it comes to their own, why don't the map makers just trim it down from 120 entries to a final 16, and then the rest of the community gets involved? Because at the end of the day, you guys are map makers. You guys know best technically what works, what doesn't work, because you've made maps, you've seen your maps enter the professional map pool. Why don't you guys get together? Why don't you form a council of like or council of like the 8 guys that maybe have made the most professional maps, and then you guys do some non-biased judging where you're maybe not allowed to rate your own maps, but the other map makers are allowed to rate your maps. And then you guys make sure that it trims down from 120 or 130 entries to 16. And that's when you start reaching out to commentators, pro players, streamers, community figures. Wouldn't that kind of just solve everything? Kantu, Jason, Fear Dragon?
Okay, if I can comment on it, let me see.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys, for
he's
all
got the
in
notebook,
the
so he's
stream.
going
I
first.
have
Yeah, he's ready.
no. It's the problem is that I have awful memory. So if I'm going to be like going point by point, I need to be taking notes, or I will die. I will just die. So when it comes to the amount of maps, it's a lot of maps. For this TL Liquid Map contest, we received 176. For the previous one, we received 160 something. For the previous one before that, we received like 120. I remember it was like it varies, but it's like around that. And when it comes to the amount of work it is, yeah, it is a sacrifice. It is a matter of public service, basically. That's just how I see it. When it comes to judging, I have been judging and doing like all of this and more for the last 6 years now, maybe since 2015, 2016, something like that. And bi-yearly, I just basically lose 2 months of the year for every Team Liquid Map contest. It's like a 2-month chunk that I just lose of like working. So I'm very much like as Fear Dragon was saying, like it's a lot of work for Team Liquid Map contest, and it's a lot of work to manage it, because what I do is not just judging, You guys were saying, for example, 120 maps. That's a lot. What I judge is the 176 or the 185, and I judge every single one. Take the 2/3 at the top and discard the bottom third. Those instantly are not judged by you,
Okay.
and that is one of the things that Sigurat was talking about, because he wanted more of the maps of the bottom third to make it into the top. And most of the things that are coming from Sigurat are completely warranted. Most of the things that he mentions. There is lots of secrecy surrounding the judging process, and those I've been having like lots of very open discussions with the map makers, and it comes from me that I don't believe that they ought to know every single detail, because the judging process it's open to backlash from the map makers, who are people that are volunteers, have like their, not even their egos on the line. It's like just their work. They have their love on the line, because that's what they do. Map making is just like a volunteer thing. Like they are not paid for anything. Like $100 is not worth the 2 years amount of work that it takes to become like a good-ish map maker. So it's like, for example, and I'm playing guitar or something like that, and then you have like who can make, not even who can make the best drift, or who can play the best tunes, or the best motifs or something, but it's like who can make the best pop music that is like for the highest amount of people, and if they don't like it, then they attack you personally. So we just have, for example, one map maker who had to leave the Discord server because he was receiving like too much vitriol from from just the abroad community. Uh, I'm not gonna mention, because it's something that happened like last week in GSL. You might know what it was, but he just received so much vitriol, and he had been in the past with problems with just things, and he didn't want to be doxxed, and he didn't want to put like his professional life or his family on the line for just that kind of
Yeah,
vitriol
this
that
is
is just
getting
like
really
one
dark over
cent an hour.
maps.
And that happens a lot of time, all the time. I'm sure you might remember, maybe it was Deathwing from 2014. That was a 4-player map that was absolutely huge.
Yep,
It
I
was
remember.
huge, and it had like lots of problems. And from that was the first map that the map maker ever made that made it into ladder. And instantly it received like a huge amount of backlash. There was a siege tank point position that could siege the natural, and since then the map maker like just step away and never touch the editor again, basically. So there is like in my case, for example, for Foxtrot, I received constant vitriol from like the entire chunks of Twitter and pro players.
I
But
believe
on
that.
my case, I'm just brain damage. So I just literally don't care whatever says about the work that I do. I care about the systemic feedback process. So if you say, Cantu, I want you to die, kill yourself, or something like that, this map sucks. I will say like, okay, this guy has like an edge. It's like clearly pissed off, but I want to understand why he's pissed off in this specific way. And I just ignore all the rest, and I just take it as a point of feedback. But I'm just like a single guy that can do that. I'm like,
No, of course.
it's
I
I
think
just
your
can't
point
take the
is
vitriol. So in this position, I just like. But yeah, when it comes to work, it's a lot of work. For example, for the Team Liquid map contest, that the 180 something maps, uh, we we have been doing like for the last 4 or 5 years, we have been doing a process that is called prejudging feedback, where I just review up to a date, for example, like 2 weeks or a week before the deadline. I just receive every single map that is sent, and I review them. I download them all, I put them in the editor and review them every single one, and I give feedback to the map makers. And that's like, it can be upwards of 120 maps, and I make like notes of every single bit that might be wrong, and I send that back to the map makers in order for them to correct that. So it's a lot. And then there is the quality assurance phase that needs to be done in like basically a single day. That is like going through all the maps that made it finalist and doing cleaning the map, not fully for ladder, but at least for the Wari tournament, so there are no clear bugs. In this case, for example, as I was mentioning last week in GSL, and I feel very, very bad for this. I could have caught that problem. I could have caught that problem, but I missed it because in the quality assurance I just didn't note. We have like lots of checkboards, and one of those checkboards was missing. That was missing. I just hadn't thought about it, and it was missed. And I could have reached the map maker, and the map maker could have reached GSL, and then it could have been fixed. Maybe even if I had done it, maybe it couldn't have been fixed in time. I don't know.
Can I ask
But it's
something
like that
actually?
extra bit of work.
Can I ask something about that process? Like,
Go for it.
I come from a world where automation is amazing and I love it, and I think it's a huge part of doing things like quality assurance and stuff. I don't know technically if this is feasible, but is it possible to like automate some of those kind of checks and like reduce the amount of time? So I'm imagining something like an extension that you load up with the map and it just runs through a bunch of tests. It tests things that maybe to like verify that it's meeting a bunch of criteria, like main base to main base worker like timing distance and like all these other kinds of things, and
Yeah.
making sure that pathways are like accessible. All those like could some of this
Yeah.
work basically just be moved to an automation?
I mean, if I give you an image of a bird,
I don't
can
think
you
Deep
recognize that it's a
Mind
bird?
could do that.
Sorry.
Yeah. If I give you an image of a bird, of a turaco, can you recognize what type of species it is? Can you recognize in what is
I
the
can machine
background that is
learning
going
train
on?
something for that. Yeah. But
Yeah. Like if we had machine learning, maybe we could, but in that case, then you will be sampling like all the existing maps that have passed from the ladder, and then you will be overcorrecting for that type of ladder map, and that will already make things like more towards the standard. But when it comes to quality assurance, I would love it. Blizzard supposedly has a couple tools, but they are not for general quality assurance. That is what I do. They are more optimized into general like graphics optimization, such as checking for overdraw, checking for poly counts in certain specific areas, checking for that just all the triggers are working correctly, like that kind of thing, rather than the, for example, art or balance perspectives or such. For example, ensuring that there are no two Python cannon rushes. And this is something that I wanted to attack with partying, because last year he was just raging, as he loves to do, against map makers because we didn't add enough cannon rush spots to the maps. So the community is
Of course.
welcome to wade into that parting request. As I was saying, I just discard the raging part and I just say, oh, maybe parting has a point here. Maybe Protoss should have more cannon rush spots so they can do like forge expand easier. Maybe
so
there
I'm
are
not
not lots of
One
Protoss
second, one
players
second.
on the finalist at the moment. So
I just want to step in real quick. Well, first of all, to go back to what you're talking about before, people threatening map makers and insulting them, that's absolutely crazy. And I think everyone with an IQ above 84 is very grateful that we have map makers that are passionate about StarCraft 2. And we're all very grateful for every map you guys have ever made and contributed to making StarCraft 2 great. Because without you guys, we'd probably still be playing on Daybreak, and nobody wants that. So obviously, I think it goes without
no,
saying
Daybreak
that,
is made by map maker as well. You will be playing
yeah,
on Antigua Shipyard
doesn't
or
matter. You get my
on
point.
Lost
The
Temple or
TLDR
something
is
like that.
that the TLDR is that nobody deserves that, and we're very grateful that we have you guys and that you're passionate about making maps and making the scene better. That goes without saying. But let's go back to perhaps the most important thing. Earlier, you mentioned that basically 33% of all the maps that get submitted, they get discarded by kind of you, maybe someone else helping you with it, and there is not that
Yeah,
much
no.
communication about it. So that's why some map makers
Oh.
were upset as well. Why is that? Why is it too much to send like a single message to one of the map makers, be like, "Hey, sorry, your map is not even going to get judged because it's not good enough." Why is this not being done?
I do. We do. there are three steps to each team Liquid map contest. There is the prejudging feedback, where I just sample all the maps, receive any big issue that might have. Generally, is not something extensive. Like, I will not write down every single detail that the map has.
No, of
Well,
course not.
I
I'm
will
not
try to
asking.
write
It's
most of them,
impossible. Yeah.
and no, I do it, and I try to do it as thoroughly as possible. It's like 100. It's at least it's like 120, 100 maps more or less, and I try to do it for most map makers. This is like an empty, like no changes needed, because the map is like, okay, it's fine. It's generally like some big issues. For example, the mineral lines are not positioned correctly. There are like pylon cannon rushes spots in certain locations. Certain areas might be too open. Certain areas might be too choky. For example, if the main base is positioned like in a weird position, there might be like some drop harass that might be overly strong. So you need to rotate the main base mineral line in order to and then there is like that kind of stuff. But after that first phase happens, the prejudging feedback, we select all the finalists, and then there is an iteration phase where the finalists, the top 16 that are selected by the judges, can receive some changes from the map makers depending on whatever, blessed be on whatever things that the Worthy tournament highlights. And blessed be Worthy, please. Let's bless him. And when it comes to, and after the Team Liquid Map contest contest is finished, I generally again open a post Team Liquid Map contest feedback feedback thread. So every single map maker that submitted something can submit. Generally, it used to be like freely, but it was so many maps, and it will take me like literally like upwards of 4-5 months to go every single map, pointing them the issues out.
But
So then
I
I
get
give
your
them
points.
feedback from what the judges.
I get your points, and I appreciate that you work so hard and you're so dedicated to it. But let's go back to the basic fundamental where it seems like this contest just doesn't really work the way it does. Because putting an immense amount of work on your shoulders, where you're basically busy for 2 months, that is not a solution. Even if you're doing the absolute best you possibly can, it seems like the setup is just wrong. So, Fair Dragon, Kontu, and Jason, what do you guys think is a way to just make this entire progress or process a bit smoother and make it all run better? Because this is clearly not really working out. No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you try, this is clearly not making everyone happy. And it's also not very fair to ask that amount of work from you. So how do you guys think we can just make this better?
Need more people to help judge, and we need to be more positive between all the 5 groups that I mentioned before. Like, map makers need to be more respectful towards the judges so that more people want to judge. The judges need to be more respectful to the map makers while judging. And the viewers and the fans need to be more respectful to the map makers when when a map gets into the map pool that they don't like.
Of
Because
course.
the fact that people, like you said before, are getting mad at map makers because they're losing games is unironically the same at getting mad at David Kim because of a balance loss. Like, it's not productive and it doesn't help actually move us forward. But yeah, with more people, like, it actually solves all the problems we were talking about, because where Fear Dragon was talking about personal bias with judging, if you have more judges, an individual judge's score has less meaning on the overall map score itself. So by having more people, then that personal bias is removed, and it's just, you're going to get the result of what people would want instead of an individual person. Because yeah, there's just literally like, I don't even remember what the total number of judges this season was, but it wasn't a lot, and it wasn't
I
a lot
have-
last time.
7-6.
Yeah.
Okay, I have an idea, and you guys can tell me whether you like it or not. What if next week we hold elections? Basically, anyone that wants to be a pre-TLMC judge can offer themselves to a link. We have a poll, people can vote, and ideally we form a council of, let's say, 6 people that will make sure, like, they get voted in. So they have to get voted in. We have elections. You can obviously offer yourself. You can sign up if you want to be a judge. If you don't have to sign up. we form a core group of basically 6 contours. So not one contour, but 6 contours that will then make the 170 entries or whatever crazy number we have go down to a much more doable number of, let's say, 24, max 32. And that's when you have a overall judging group with people like Juggernaut Jason, myself. I would like to join a couple of pro players of each and every single race, community figures, and then from the 32 or 24 maps, we form the ultimate maps that make it into the map pool. Wouldn't that solve kind of everything?
Yeah, it'd be sick.
No, it wouldn't,
Okay,
because you need to think of whom you are inviting, because it relies back on the point of psychographics, and then you will be inviting, for example, just spikes that are highly competitive people, or like just like, for example, anyone that is watching or hearing this stream might be already like a spike versus someone that, I don't know, plays the ladder once every month or something. So that already like selects for standard maps.
no, I
That
don't think that's
it's
fair.
such
I
a,
really don't. I don't think
no.
that's fair.
It's not fair, because there is you, for example, or the map makers, that just we have like different preferences for this type of thing. For example, I just literally get bored if I play like the same map for like two,
Yeah, but
three
you're not
weeks.
alone in that. I don't know
And
why you put all of us in the
exactly,
same basket. Do you know what my favorite map over the
I
last year was? I'll let you guess. What was my favorite map over the last year?
Golden Wall.
Purity and Industry. And I'm sure that you would have never guessed that, but I loved it. I
No,
love
no.
wild maps.
I will. No, it's not even that. But yeah, that the overall trend will go towards standardish stuff. So when it comes to this, you're absolutely right that the system, I don't believe, works. But for the past, for example, now that we have ESL in comparison to like Blizzard overseeing things, I by the way,
Your
as I was saying, I'm
microphone
not
cut off.
Blizzard. I'm not Team Liquid. I'm not. Yeah, no. Sorry, I'm not ESL. I'm not from
Hmm.
ESL. I'm not from Team Liquid. I'm not from Blizzard. I'm a volunteer that helps from the map making side of things. So now that Blizzard is like less on top of it, and ESL kind of maybe take a little bit of the opinions and
Hmm.
strategical planning for StarCraft, changes to the TM Liquid map contest are more possible. So that makes me very happy, and it's actually something that I have been discussing like for the last 2 weeks, a weeks or something, since before like all of this chaos with the post of Sigurat, because as I was saying, like it raised like good points. There are some issues on how he framed things, or for example, he has some information that is not completely accurate. So, and that's completely fine, because I we try to keep like unquote secrecy for the judging processes, because I want, it's a matter of avoiding backlash and avoiding like interest groups lobbying against the pro players, making, for example, long-term friendships in order to ensure that your maps make it closer to the finalist, and then you can have like it's that kind of stuff. So when it comes to the Team Liquid map contest process, I've been discussing a little bit with other Team Liquid map contest administrators how we can change this, and different ideas. Well, the biggest idea is that, as Fear Dragon was saying, in the past we used to have something like this. It was called Map of the Month, and it was just like all the map makers will get together on Team Liquid on a single thread, and just like
Hmm.
post their maps that made on the month, or like 2 months, something like that. And then they will vote them against each other, and they will say, oh, hey, this map is bad because of that, and that decentralization created some very cute lists, some heavily non-standard maps, something that you will never see in ladder, on some very standard maps that you might see in ladder, and you might have seen them uh, from this process. So that's more or less what I have been like putting my attention to since, for example, since the this last TLMC that was done with Shopify. I would like very much thank them for all the prize pools and etc. alongside
Hmm.
the ESL, obviously. And I really want to see if we can make this work, a decentralization of the map pool as it used to be way back then, because ideally I want the map makers to have like a stronger voice rather than have just spikes or like more
Yeah, no,
competitive
of course, but
side
I honestly don't think
people
that this is too
into the
much of
loop of
the issue.
judging.
Yeah, no, but you keep making it seem like there's only one group of pro players and all they want is the standard maps. I don't think that this is really happening, but let's give a little chance to Fear Dragon and Juggernaut Jason to speak a little bit as well. Because guys, the way that I look at it, I see a lot of problems, but I have not heard a single solution to any of the problems that currently have occurred over the last 2-3 weeks. Fear Dragon, is this something that's jumping out to you? Do you feel like there is a way to make all of this a bit better? You're muted. Fear Dragon, you're muted.
Sorry. I'm like, man, just keeps talking over me. Just kidding. No. Yeah, I think I kind of hinted at one of the thoughts that I had earlier about just having something on a more regular cadence. And I think just thinking about it a little bit more, like my potential like half-baked idea for a solution is that I think Kantu, like what you're saying, like makes sense with like you want to have a diverser group of people and everything. But I think just having like say just the map makers judge stuff is also like going into just a
It
singular group.
it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be that. It will be a matter of filters. It's the same thing in the Team Lego map contest. You have the map makers as a first filter that make the maps that they want. Then you have the pro judges or casters, etc., that select from that large pool of maps. They filter it down, and then you have the development team at the top that has the long side strategic view, and they can pick maps wherever they see fit in order to fit the map pool schedules, variations, and just tastes. So it's that. In this case, it wouldn't be the map makers deciding the map pool at all. They will just make this chunk, as Rotterdam was saying, this small section of finalists from like 6 months more or less. So it's each month has like, for example, I don't know, 5 finalists or something like that. And then you can have ESL with the pro players, or maybe a Team Lego map contest in a different fashion. Go selecting from all of these, and it wouldn't be like 176 maps. It will be 50,
Right. So
and
I
that's
get
kind of
that.
the idea.
I get that. I guess one of the like questions that I have is like it sounds like from everything you've been talking about, a majority of the work and like the stuff that really just is super time consuming for you is not necessarily like the administrative aspect of like we need to run the tournament or we need to like get the pro players to sign up. It's we have to like evaluate every single one of these maps and pass them along to judges and then give the feedback. Like that's the time consuming part. And I'm wondering if there is a more reasonable way of doing a combination of what Roddy was talking about, basically, and like also Jason, where basically there's just more people getting involved, more like people judging in a sense. And we do that maybe through like having more of these, like, it's not even like a Team Liquid map contest. It's like every month or two, we do something where we evaluate. I don't know, maybe there's a theme for every single month. And it's like, hey,
Yeah,
people can make like maybe they are making the maps the month before when the theme gets announced, or maybe they already have maps that are laying around because they developed it and they're like, oh, this would be good for this theme. Or maybe it's something similar to the Team Liquid map categories like rush and creative or things like that, and you outline some specifications. And then with a much smaller map pool, now it's not like 180 maps that are that first pass through, because it's
yeah.
going to be like people submitting the maps on a more regular like cadence. So I'd imagine it'd maybe be a more reasonable amount. And then if you run small events that are using like that pool, then you're also not as reliant on like the judges have to do a ton of this work. You can have lower stakes tournaments or like lower stakes like weeklies and stuff where people can the spectators can get an opinion, the commentators can get opinion, the players can get an opinion. I don't think any system that we've ever talked about involves the Timmies at all, or like the casuals and stuff as much, unless you consider them like the spectators. But like I feel like if you get something like that, you can start basically gradually parsing through these different like these like this massive pool of maps. And the nice benefit also is for the feedback aspect of it. You're talking about like these multi-stage feedback things where it's like I have to go through 180 maps and give feedback to all of them on what was wrong or something. Like you don't like the onus is not going to be as much on you to do that kind of stuff because they'll just be getting that feedback, and then the next
Yeah, but-
time a similar-ish enough topic comes around, they can just resubmit the map after having worked on it because they saw all of the players started vetoing this map because of this thing. Like, cool. It was a low stakes event. Having a one bad map or two bad maps in like, like a once a month tournament is really not the end of the world.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
those tournaments
If
are
I
for. I actually really like one
if I
second
can
thought
take
too.
it away, Roti, a second.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, go ahead,
to
man.
keep going on my infinite diatribes.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
we have done that in the past. Like back then, the map of the month contests ran for many years, and we always like it wasn't me. Like back then, it was Lefix. It was another map maker that also took like kind of a administrative position in order to like manage all of this stuff. So back then, also he would like reach to streamers. It was a different era. So people like just didn't put much attention to maps or etc. So nowadays we have Creighton Olsen, whom used to run Mappers Delight,
Yeah.
that also did a partnership with the map makers in order to seek non-standard types of maps. And he obviously had the water slides maps that is just the absolute most iconic of them all. But
I love it.
by the way, all those that haven't seen the bots really just like ought to jump to see like the old bots of Creighton. But yeah, when it comes to that's one of the benefits. Like you Fear Dragon and like all the programmers that might be like listening. TLMC is a highly centralized system, and the map of the month isn't. So ideally, and it has like lower stakes. As you were saying, there might be lesser submissions per month. So ideally, if we can move into that direction, I already like put money on the line for a small price pools, but I wouldn't set up a Patreon nor anything of the sort, at least for the first 6 months. That's at least my perspective, because map makers generally the motivation is intrinsic rather than extrinsic or getting money. We do it because of the craft, and you don't really want overly strong mercenaries on it, because they will always pander into like different interest groups in order to like get themselves like more money or whatever they get, or more clout or etc. But yeah, it is that. Like I'm very biased. I would like to try this out, to try this map of the month type contest that is just like runs one every month, and not even rather than TLMC, but like make a slow transition towards this new system, and it would be map makers judging map makers rather than anything public in this case, because I believe that you, Fear Dragon, or Jason, or Rotterdam, you guys are representatives of the teamies in
No,
the
we are not.
background.
Like you keep
You guys
saying
like
that, but this is so
no,
wrong, though.
you are, because the ideas that you have, you can verbalize, and you are very rhetorically capable, and you can verbalize like the different tastes, and for example what gives like someone a rush of interest, and just through that, and your obviously your experience, because you guys, Juger, Jason, Roti, even Cobra here, our producer, like has a large amount of experience when it comes to like judging this kind of gameplays, etc. That may be like a person that is just like a fan of StarCraft and just like watches tangentially, might not have,
can I
and
interrupt
it
really
might not
quickly?
even want to
Yes.
vote.
Can I
Yes,
interrupt
Fear
and say-
Dragon. I
Get
give
him,
the
Fear
word to Fear
Dragon.
Dragon.
I'm actually
Get
with
'em.
you, Kev. Like, I actually don't think we were okay. Let me put it this way. All right, I play Dota as a Timmy. All right, I am like the super casual Dota player. You know what I actually hate happens in Dota is that the map changes and they have big balance patches and stuff. We're talking about all the Timmies, like they get bored and like, no, actually, every single time that stuff happens, and I working a full-time job and also basically a second full-time job with StarCraft, with all of the other like casual interests and stuff that I have, I go and play Dota and I'm like, the fuck is this? Like, my builds don't work over here. Like, my hero is different. I don't understand how this map works anymore. What are these new runes? Like, that's the kind, like, there's a very wide spectrum of those people. And given that Roddy, Jason, myself, for a short period of time, Cobra, like, we've all literally gone full time, like, into StarCraft at one point or another. I don't think that any of us are, like, actually the Timmies. I don't think we're actually representing that demographic at all.
That is another reason why we need more judges, dude, because half of this problem is because the weird maps that do get submitted, like, they're just not ladder ready. And in order for them to become ladder ready one day, like, we need proper feedback for these map makers to what would make these maps playable for us. But right now, we don't have any people judging, so these map makers are like, "What's going on?" And the map makers the judges don't wanna share their feedback. I don't wanna share my feedback because everybody seems to be getting upset and using the judges as the
Backlash.
reason for they lost. Um, but the reality is there are a lot of really cool ideas and new maps that were made. It's just that they all have fundamental flaws in them where it's like, okay, I could put a siege tank in the natural and it can hit the natural or something like that. Or there's like a
Please,
liberator
Jason.
spot in the natural
What
that can
happened?
range the whole
Let
natural.
Jason
How
finish.
I'm pretty much
Sorry.
done.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty
No,
much done. Go ahead.
no, Jason. What is your opinion on Golden Wall,
It was
for
fine.
example?
So when if there's like a map feature that's trying to be used, like let's say mineral patches that are just scattered to block off sections of the map, or speed zones or slow zones, one of the like biggest common issues that we see in the maps is that somebody will take like a slow zone and they'll just copy and paste like 20 of them next to each other. And they're like, this is your map, guys. Like a lot of people need to start using these map features in a more intelligent way that's going to actually create like interesting gameplay and not just this is the map feature and I'm just going to abuse it in this area to make the map look cool. But again, this leads to these map makers aren't going to realize this unless people are giving them feedback. So
Okay.
again, we need to
And
communicate.
Jason, and what was your take on Golden Wall?
I like it.
And before you liked it?
Before I liked it, I don't remember.
You didn't like it.
Oh,
You
maybe.
didn't like it.
Did I might have
Maybe
not
a
voted
little
for
bit.
it.
But Kanto, it's
Maybe.
important to keep in mind that even when a streamer like Jason or myself says like, "Oh, Golden Wall, I don't like it," that doesn't mean like we're really bashing the map. Like at first, it could just be
Yeah,
on stream, you're just yourself and you
no.
talk to your audience, you try to entertain. But it doesn't mean that
No,
I have a
the thing is that
fundamental issue with the map. Like I actually like you have to understand that I have been in favor for a long time of not getting 3 new maps into the map pool. I want 7 new maps in the map pool because I think StarCraft
yeah,
2 has been 10
Yeah.
or 11 years around, and it's time for us to think a little bit more outside of the box to make sure that our game stays fresh, to make sure that our game stays entertaining, and that people that have been watching for a long time, the casual fans, people that like StarCraft but don't spend 24 hours a day, they don't want to watch Romanticide for 8 months in a row. That's just not a thing. And if you ask me, how should it be done? You know what I would like? We have 3 seasons of basically EPT leading up to Katowice, right? In my opinion, we should have 3 times 7 new maps completely, and then in the final 2 months before Katowice, we take the best 7 maps out of those 21 maps. That is the group that I'm in, and that is honestly what I believe would be the best for StarCraft 2.
Brody, you have a far better memory than I. Well, I will say that anybody ever has a far better memory than I. Do you remember how the Warcraft 3 and Brood War map pools back then in WCG and ICC Cup used to run? It was
Well, the
some
Warcraft 3 map
large.
pool never changed it,
Yeah.
like ever.
No,
We
no,
had
no,
like
no.
one
I
map.
mean, no. But like for WCG and Brood War,
Yes.
I remember that there used to be like these large chunks of like 21 maps or something like that, 16
For
maps.
WCG?
And those maybe it was IC Cup or it was some other minor server. I just don't have the memory for this.
Okay.
I,
Well, I
I
am not a
started
Brood
in
War
like
guy, but I can tell you
I
in Warcraft 3, we had the same maps forever, and then we had
yeah
like one new map added
Turtle
every 2
Island.
years. Yes, exactly. But
Yeah, but it was these large chunks of 21 maps, something like that. And every 2 weeks, the guys that will run the server will choose like 5 maps, and these 5 maps will make the ladder. And then those other 20, well, 16 map left. If there was any big tournament, the tournament organizer could pick the ones that were left over, and they will make their own map pool from this large chunk of 21 maps that will cycle every, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. So it was a longer ladder season, on quotes,
Mhm.
but the map pool was also considerably larger, and it will cycle this way. The issue with this type of thing is, as Fear Dragon was saying, that it's a deep um, game development change perspective thing. Because if your players only have like a couple hours and they just like a single map and they just want to play that map because it's what gives them fun. If you have a system like this, they might not see that map for like the next 5 months again after those 2 weeks. So it's very much something that's. I will say that I can have my take, but someone in marketing and management or product placement might just like have a better take. I would personally would very much like those chunks, but that's really left up to Blizzard to manage, and maybe ESL. But even then, we need like coordination with the ladder. But I will very much like what you say. For example, as I was saying at the start, like I tend to get like very tired, just bored in general, like after three
Yes.
weeks of playing like the same map.
I think we're
But
all
I'm
kind of
different
in this
than
basket. Jason, like my idea of brand new map pool. No longer are we adding 3 maps. No, we're adding 7 new maps,
Dude,
3 seasons in a row.
how has this never happened in 10 years of StarCraft where we've never gotten 7 new maps? It doesn't even make sense to me because
because
there's
of
like so many good
consistency.
maps.
Until one sec, let Jason and Fair Dragon speak
Yeah,
as well.
sorry, I keep talking.
There's
I know you're passionate and we love your passion, but let's
Yeah,
give the other guys
again,
some room too.
it's the first time. It's the first time that I joined in the Pylon show, so it's fine.
It's okay.
Carry on,
Jason,
okay.
go
My
ahead.
Dragon.
my thoughts are literally usually 10 seconds long. I literally what were we even talking about?
You said why has this never happened before that we got 7 new maps at once?
Oh yeah, why? That's literally
It's inertia.
it's
All
so
all
bad.
human systems are just controlled and managed by inertia.
So
So in
like
this case, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. For this Team Liquid map contest, like we wanted consistency with the previous map contest, so we used the same rule sets and the same management and the same ideas because we wanted consistency from the Blizzard era, on quotes,
Yes.
air quotes, to the on quotes ESL era, on quotes. So we wanted like this smooth, as smooth as having a Python show dedicated entirely to maps can be. So we wanted this type of thing, like a smooth transition. So then we can like start altering and playing around with the rule sets and the systems of the
For,
Team Liquid Map contest judging.
All right.
Fear Dragon, please
for what
carry
it's
on.
worth, for what
get
it's
on
Yes.
worth,
Figuare, yeah.
I'm not saying that I think that this is the case or anything, but I do like to just always consider the other side of it. Like for what you were saying, Jason, why haven't we ever seen this before? Blizzard is the one that was making those decisions before, and they could have had access to data that we don't have about maybe like a lot of people who ladder. Like maybe Blizzard actually saw, hey, like here's the analytics. What are people vetoing? Oh, every single time we release new maps, people like the majority of players from diamond below or whatever are just vetoing the new maps. Like
Mhm.
maybe that's feedback that they saw. Like we don't actually know. There could actually be a reason why they don't do that, and that they say like, oh, it's like our players don't want, like a vast majority of our players don't actually want all new maps.
I think that's a great point, Fear Dragon, but I also think what applied to 2013, 2014, when StarCraft 2 was clearly one of the front runners in the entire esports scene. I don't think that we have to apply whatever worked back then
Yeah,
to what should work for us in 2021, right?
that's
I
so
really
true.
think it's important for us to open up a little bit, and we don't want to mess with the pro players. We don't want to give them 7 awful maps to play on, because then obviously we don't get good games and our tournaments are going to be lame. There is a better way. I gotta say, guys, at first I was like, Cobra was like, Roddy, we're going to talk about maps this week. I'm like, you know what? Sounds like a good idea. I was like, how the hell are we going to talk about maps? I feel now we spoke about maps for 1 hour and 5 minutes, and we got nowhere.
be going.
Absolutely
I
nowhere.
feel we're
Like,
No,
I got a
no,
bit
no, no, no.
wiser.
No, I, well, whatever discussions that happen on Reddit, on
Yes.
Twitter, on Team Liquid, or maybe even the Battle.net forums, to the absolute horror of everybody here, I'll be probably like reading like through them. Um, and just like taking as points of like little stars, little points of feedback. Maybe I just like discard them all because there is like some other macro narrative that works with this, etc. I have a background in international relations and political science and computer science as with Fear Dragon.
You studied
And
multiple
so
subjects, is what you're saying.
a little bit. But yeah, it's yeah. So it's something that I have been doing for many years. So wherever there was, for example, the outcry with too many Zergs, and then the Terran players got all mad, and now and then I just bully Terran players as a group, and I just say that all Terrans are bad. And then Nathanias, oh God, I love him. I really wanted him as judge, but he has post-traumatic stress disorder from Dasan Station. So I don't know. I really want him though.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a
Fear
I
Dragon,
think
I
we're
really
getting
want you as
carried
well.
away. 1 second, Conte.
Yeah,
We're getting
too
carried away. We
much,
have to
too
go
much.
back. We have been talking for an hour, and obviously we heard a couple of takes. But the TLDR of everything is that the map making contest, the TLMC, the way it's currently being run, that doesn't work. It's simply like the map makers are not happy, and then the judges are not happy because poor Jason spent 7 days judging maps, and then he still gets shit on, and it's just very ungrateful. So the bottom line of all of this is we need to get a better system. And I think it all starts with the pre-map judging. Like you cannot ask pro players, judges, community figures, whatever, you cannot ask them to judge over 100 maps. That's simply not doable. It will never be fair. It will never be done correctly because people don't have the time for that. So we need to just very simply find a way to change the entire contest. And just because this
Yeah,
has
I
maybe
will.
kind of worked in the past doesn't mean that it's going to keep working. So we need some solutions. Kantu, I'll let you go soon. Fear Dragon, after listening to this lovely circle and history of maps for an hour, how are we going to make this better? How are we going to fix it?
I think you guys were kind of talking about like I think there's value in just pointing out specifically, not just we need to change the whole system. Is like what are the specific problems we're trying to solve, right? Like you kind of mentioned, we have too many maps in the like final stage, right? For when we start looping in the judges, there has to be some mechanism of going through that. And I think the problem right now is that Cantu just has way too much on his plate doing the pre-map judging, right? It's like
That's
if
not a
it's taking
one-man
up
job. It's a
Huh?
team job.
yeah, exactly. Like if it's taking 4 months of your time, like that's already it's like not a scaling solution. Imagine if StarCraft blew up even more somehow, like everything just goes exceedingly well. You start getting more map makers and you have more like there's
One
not
second.
scaling for the solution, right?
In this case, the map makers wanted more Team Blue Wave map contests, and I told them like instead of
Yeah.
us used to be 2 a year, and they wanted 4. And as an idea, they were just
And
throwing ideas because
it
to
doesn't
lower the stakes.
scale.
And 1 second, and I told them, guys, I am already unemployable. I'm not employable like as it is. Like with this, I will just starve. Like I don't know what I will do. I already
Yeah.
do freelance for game development as an
No,
example.
but mate, listen, you're getting carried away, and we don't want you
Carry
to
on.
do more, or we don't
Yeah.
want you to spend
No,
even more time on
that's
it.
what I was
We
saying. That's
want
what I
to
was
fix
saying.
the
I will just not.
Yeah, of course, and we
I
understand
can't
that
do
because
like
you're clearly already doing too much. But Fear Dragon, let's wrap up your thoughts quickly, or like
Yeah.
wherever you
So
want to go.
basically, I think what we want is we want the like prejudging stage. We need a bigger team to go through like these maps and do that prejudging phase. Potentially, I don't know if automation would help. Like, I'm not saying automate every single aspect of like pre-map judging, but basic stuff maybe can help at least reduce some of the workload, as well as adding more people to that team. And potentially another like thing is just going through and turning through some of the maps on a more frequent basis with the other things, making sure that like going through those maps is not this insane task for a single person. That there's a team of people actually going through this, and that then we can go through and do these map contests or something more frequently.
1 second, Kantu, because Jason has been on the show for an hour and 5 minutes and said
Yeah.
around 17 words.
Get
So,
'em.
Jason, listening to Fear Dragon, and what do you want to say?
Yeah, so like there's literally 100 ways we could do this, but a good step one would be everybody that has ESL points, Korea, NA, Europe, they need to be sent a message next TLMC. And there needs to be a system where people judge less maps. So it's like, hey, we need you to judge 20 of these maps should take about a few hours, and everybody gets that. And if more people jump on board and more people give ratings, and there's an actual system in place where the people that do judge have to give feedback to the map
Yep.
makers, then this literally solves fucking every problem I can think of. But it's never going to be accomplished if one, nobody judges, and two, if we keep shitting on everybody instead of just being like, coming together as a community and figuring out this map bullshit together. And yeah, that's why I think it's an overblown problem that's easily solved by just
Yeah,
people
that's
putting
kind
their
of what I got, Jason. Like, after listening to all of this, I had no idea, first of all, that there was so much drama. I knew there was a bit of drama. I was like, how are we going to talk about this for an hour? Well, here we are. Now I'm starting to understand it a little bit, but it really feels like we are overcomplicating things a lot. It really does seem that we just need to get a core group of people together that are obviously neutral, and it should not be hard. We have such a great community. We have a lot of very passionate individuals, a mix between casters, streamers, just community figures. You don't have to be you don't have to be a somebody in the world of StarCraft 2 to still be willing to spend some time to basically reduce the overwhelming amount of maps to a much smaller group. And that's when you get the Hero Marines involved, because I'm sure that Gabe is very willing to take his time to look at 15 or 20 maps. And I'm sure that, I mean, Jason, you've already done, but you would do it again, and I would do that too. And like, why do we make it seem like this is rocket science when it feels like it is all pretty fixable if we just make the process a little bit smoother? Kantu.
I don't believe that it can. I mean, the the steps that are being taken to make the process smoother are already being taken, and I'm already taking them with alongside the other map makers in order to create like a new system that can provide map pools in order to a select few that can be like assisted with ESL to pro players, etc. Like a short list of 50 maps, something like that. And then you guys can like play test that and select the map pool from that. And all of those steps, like I'm taking them, like putting money on the line to the prize pools, to management, administration, etc. And other thing that is very important that I really ought to note to like everybody watching is that I'm not alone. I'm the map maker guy that gives feedback and quality assurance and just like assistance to the Team Blue Good Map contest. But Julmust, Wax Angel, Templar, Ilukuyen, they also have been assisting me like for many years. Ilukuyen as well specifically helps me manage like spreadsheets, and also Julmust helps like write out the Team Blue Map contest, like all the administrative side of things. So it's not that I'm alone, so I'm not like dying, but like it's a fair chunk of work.
yeah, we want to
But
help you, man. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but
of this. We
when
that's
it
want
the
comes to
whole
you there
bottom
this,
to,
line,
yeah.
is that we
the
want to
best
make it
way,
all better, and you shouldn't be alone, and you should also not be
the
with three people. Like, once more, go back to Mike. Give me a one solid reason why, if I form a list of 10 people, right? I include you, and then you include 2 or 3 people that are currently already helping with the pre-judging process, and then I give you 5 more people that can reduce the list from 150 maps to 20 maps. Why can this not work?
uh, there are it can work, but I'm not sure how committed they might be. And that is only something that will be seen after the entire process ends. And after 6 months or something happen, and then you will see the new maps stream in, and then you will see the critical acclaim or critical despised against those maps. And it's only after that process ends, that wind up process, that you will see like some answers to the entire thing. Like it can happen. I wish it were. Like for example, if
I
I
think it
could
should
ask
happen.
only one thing, if I could ask one thing of the entire community, is to give more feedback to map makers wherever they publish a map via Reddit. If they show up on your stream, like try to play it on Battle.net. And if it doesn't work, tell them like, hey, dude, like this thing doesn't work because X, Y, Z, and that's it. Like give them feedback wherever they
Yeah,
post
but
a map via Team Liquid or Twitter or something. Just like say, hey, this thing is fucked up, and say it
But I think
plainly.
that's the problem already, mate. There is no centralized place. Like when you say give
I
feedback to
won't
people
I
stream
won't
or
do it.
Team Liquid or Reddit or Twitter,
I
like
won't
what
do
does
it
that
as a
do? That's just
centralized thing.
7 people spouting noise into the internet universe. That doesn't work and that doesn't make anything better.
I
You have
won't
to
do
keep
it
it
in a
together.
centralized thing. I won't do
Yeah.
it in a centralized thing. It has to be decentralized because centralization is already me doing all the work. Or for example, join mapcave.net/discord because that's the hyperlink to our map server. So if people wants to join into that discussion of giving feedback or just play testing, we have some little roles that you can choose and you will be ping wherever there is a playtest session or wherever someone like wants to like test a map, and that's it.
All right.
Like I will give it as a very decentralized system, like a very like bare to the metal, as Fear Dragon might say, as low as possible in order to keep those feedback loops as close as potentially. Carry
I
on,
have the
Rotten.
feeling that we can make this better. I think the bottom line of this entire discussion that we just had for over an hour is that we love map makers, we love new maps, and we love the TLMC. However, the TLMC in its current condition doesn't quite work. So we just need to get together as community and as people that care about StarCraft to make it better. And I think that I agree with Jason and Ravi. Ravi, you're muted again, mate.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Roddy, do you feel like the Pylon Show would be a good place to discuss some of that stuff?
I cannot believe that we just spoke about maps for an hour and 17 minutes and we're still talking
cool for-
about... We haven't even talked about the maps. I wanted to hear Jason's opinion about the TLMC that just
Dude,
took place.
let's go, dude. What do you want? My opinion on
Yeah,
TLMC?
I actually wanted to talk about our upcoming maps and like the maps that you revealed. Did you enjoy it? Is there anything that stood out, something that truly excited you? But yeah, we've only been talking about judging and everything. But let's go ahead, Jason. Talk to me
Okay.
about what you've
No,
been
that's-
doing over the last 2 weeks.
That's fair. Like, I think the answer is going to end up being more boring than you would think because just a lot of standard maps did end up making it through. And the ones that were more non-standard did, as I mentioned before, end up having a lot of game-breaking or balance-inducing flaws where one unit or a positioning of a unit could do too much damage somewhere. For example, a Liberator sieging up a natural where only one queen can reach the Liberator, that type of thing. The maps themselves, like, they really were like, this season specifically, this is the closest I've ever seen out of any TLMC as to like the scoring I gave between all the maps. They were all very refined and pretty well thought out. And it was very close between the top 16 and the whatever was under the top 16. Nothing really exploded for me this season in particular. Like it was very, very standard. Like the rush category all stuck to the requirements for a rush category map where it was small and it felt like a rush map, and the same for the macro category. Yeah, I liked it.
The maps that you judged, are they going to be into our next map pool or the next map pool? Because I have the feeling that they're always one behind, or is that no longer the case?
They're usually one behind. Yeah, once the TLMC is over, like there is nothing left that anybody in the community can do. Like Blizzard comes in, picks the maps for the map pool out of the finals or whatever, and then it's done from there.
So the maps that you just judged now, we won't see them for another 6 months.
Probably. I honestly don't know. I would assume not for the next season, yeah, because that's usually how it works.
I think I don't know if like this will change, but at least that was like the way that Blizzard worked. I wonder if ESL being involved will make it maybe a little bit of a faster process.
I was told there would be changes. Actually, since we were talking about the Nathanius thing earlier with Dasan Station, this brings up an interesting thing because earlier on, like back when Blizzard was running things and ESL had nothing to do with it, you would be judging a map, right? And you would see something on a map where it's like this tank can't fit through this corridor down the middle of the map. And if you're judging a map that has a flaw that can be easily fixed with literally a second of effort, do you give that map a bad score because of that? And do you neglect the rest of the map? No, not really. So Nathanius comes along, sees Dasan Station, sees that flaw, and he says, you know what, that can be fixed in the quality assurance phase before this hits the ladder. But it never got fixed. And Nathanius gets blamed for it. And Nathanius doesn't want to judge again. which that's all the stuff we talked about earlier. Blah
Oh,
blah
so
blah.
that's what happened.
But
Uh-huh.
now, with the way I was kind of assuming that the way things go, and this is how I kind of judge maps, is when I see one of those flaws, I assume like, all right, we're gonna fix that in quality assurance, and I'm not gonna like fail a map because of it. So if there's a Reaper spot that a Reaper can't jump up because there's a bug, it's a bug, and I won't judge a map based on that solely.
Mhm.
I don't even
Of
remember
course.
what the question was.
Doesn't matter. We've got an FA or a Q&A coming up as well. I wouldn't say FAQ, but maybe it is going to turn into an FAQ down the line. I don't know. Obviously, we always have a Pylon Show Discord where the Patreon supporters of the Pylon Show can submit questions. I think Cobra already spammed it a bit before. I'm sure we're going to dive into that. Fair Dragon, before we jump into the Q&A, is there something else you really want to get off your chest?
No. I wish that I had studied multiple subjects.
Oh, Fear Dragon.
Oh.
Kantu, I know that there is something you want to get off your chest, so feel free.
Map makers good, players bad.
Well, we can all work together. We're all in here for the same thing, no?
No,
We
hug it,
love
dude.
you.
No, yeah, no. I love Jason. I wasn't aware that that's what had happened to Nathanias.
Well, he's saying
And
in chat that wasn't specifically what he got flack for, but I just assumed that that's kind of how that went down. In a sense, that's how the bug
yeah.
got discovered. Yeah.
No, in that case, for example, I just wasn't around, I believe, like back then. So had that happened on my watch, like it wouldn't have happened, at least in that way. It might have been happening, I try to fix like as many things as possible. Sometimes things slip by, such as, for example, the GSL problem. I should have caught it, but it wasn't even me. Like that's what makes me mad because I wish I had caught it and I wish I'd like warned them beforehand.
Yeah, but
Actually,
I don't think
But
this is any of your fault, or this has nothing to do with the TLMC. This is on GSL. They select a map that is brand new, that hasn't been tested yet. Literally nobody is responsible for that other than the
yeah, no,
GSL
like
mate.
that's what people keep saying. But like if I can avoid, for example, that type of backlash that a map maker received for such an asinine thing that I could have fixed, I
Yeah,
it's
but
on me.
this is not your fault. That's basically like if I want to buy a Tesla, but instead I wait until the Tesla is finished and I buy a Tesla right out of the factory before they put on the fourth wheel. I cannot go on Twitter and be like, "Damn you, Elon Musk! I only had 3 wheels. What the hell?" This is not your fault
Yeah,
or the map maker's fault. This has nothing to
maybe.
do with anything.
there's a very common thing that we actually say in software development and stuff, which is when something goes wrong and like a bug slips into production, it's not someone's fault. It's process's fault. We need to fix the process
Yeah,
that allowed the bug to get to production. Like,
Mhm.
don't shoulder the blame on this.
yeah, maybe.
No,
So
Maybe it should
absolutely.
be like unified. It should be unified like ESL with a GSL and the Blizzard. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
no, no.
process.
Like, this is
That's
definitely
why,
not
for
the map
example,
maker.
the Blizzard quality assurance takes generally 2 months. Sometimes they make like mistakes on their end, which is like understandable. Other times it's just like works perfectly. But yeah, there were some points that Jason and Fear Dragon had made that were really good, but I have awful memory, so I sadly forgot them. But anyhow, Roddy, take it
Can,
away, whatever you
can
wanted to
I
say.
actually, Kev, can I take back what I said? I do have something to say. All right. One last thing is
Of
that
course, take your time.
when we're talking about these kind of things, I think it's helpful just for everyone to try and keep in mind that for the most part, I think there's everyone that's involved in these discussions have good intentions. They're not usually malicious. And I know that sometimes some of this stuff can get a little bit heated because people feel passionate about certain topics and stuff, but like it really is helpful for us to come to a effective solution if you try to assume until truly proven otherwise that the other side has good intentions and is working toward a solution just as you are. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Like like, you can feather me. Is that the expression when you get like thrown loads of arrows? You can feather me for like all the things since like I don't know that era of Zerg with the Snoot at the top, with like some maps that were like slightly favoring Zerg or something, and then Snoot become like GSL champion and twice. Uh, you can blame me for that. When it
Nobody's
comes to,
blaming
for
you for any
example, no,
balance
no,
Yeah,
here.
we don't want to blame you
I'm
for
saying
anything.
no, and that's completely fine because I take it as feedback information points for the cycle, for the cycle of maps. So whatever in that moment, there was a period where we had a hard time getting specifically Terran judges for the Team Blue Game Map contest, and it was very difficult to get them. And then you have like those specific biases, as I was talking. It trends and it shifts and it moves. And you sometimes can catch it as it moves and move it in a slightly different direction. I'm talking like 1 degree direction changes, and then as like 3 months down the line that ends up being like 30 degrees in a direction change. So you need to be like very in tune with what is happening when it comes to judging. That's why, for example, I was saying that it can be, it could be, you could get like 30 cantus maybe, I don't know how many, but you need to be on the aggregate of the entire process. You need to be careful when it comes to that. Um, I Fear Dragon also mentioned another thing that I just forgot again because I have awful memory.
I think all I
But
said
what?
was, "Let's all be friends."
Yeah, I love you guys. So that's why I've been doing this for like many years.
Yeah, no, I
So
think
yeah.
sometimes we're getting a bit too carried away, and no one is looking at a map maker as the reason why Sarah won a tournament or Snoot won a tournament. Like, this is, to me, not relevant at all. I think the bottom line of all of this is that we, as StarCraft 2 community, we really appreciate map makers, and without you guys, it would be a
Oh.
whole lot worse. So, from the bottom of all of our hearts, I will say thank you. But that doesn't mean we can't make the entire process better. And especially this
Yeah.
TOMC, I was watching, I was kind of following it, but I wasn't like super involved, like right in the middle of all of it. It just seemed like a bit of a mess, and I was like, there should be a way to make things better that keeps everyone happy. And it's not about balance. It's not about what favors what race or who is biased in the judging. We want to make the map makers feel appreciated. So everyone that submits a map, whether it makes it through the second phase, the third phase, the final phase, the ladder or not, everyone feels appreciated. And nobody is like basically crumbling under a workload that is just not manageable to do a proper good job. Like, I think
No,
that's what it
yeah.
all boils
If
down to.
I, Roti, if I can hijack a little bit, like I've been
Absolutely.
going like on this, I've been going on this way too long. So I would really like, if I'm not sure how much time that we have left, but to give a spotlight to the finalists on the Team
Of
Logo
course.
Map Custom 15.
Yeah, go
We
for
had
it, man.
lots of newer map makers this time around, such as Volumin, whom else? Sky Pirinha. Well, Marras is a known thing.
Mhm.
Milo on Fire, RQM who did Neon Violet Square and many others. Automaton is also other map. Neon Violet Square, maybe the streamers will obviously recognize it. It was a map that had lots of very small little squares in the middle, so the units would like sometimes clash and the pathing will not work, and it will be its own challenge. So that's something that, for example, Nathanias was mentioning when it comes to the the two doodads that are on Dasan station that didn't allow siege tank to pass through, and that's the difference. Like, what's a feature and what's a bug, and that becomes like a very thin line for like any strategy game. What is a feature? What is a bug when it comes to mutalist stacking? What is a feature? What is a bug when it comes to like hold position lurkers and brood war, or patrol micro, etc. So it gets into that widget area. I would say that it's probably like whatever the mapper decides. Even then, that doesn't matter, because if it turns out to be a positive, and it gives synergy to the entire thing, then it's something that should have been like that from the beginning, but it couldn't have been predicted. But anyhow, we have Volumin, we have the music, we have Superhuman, we have Agaton. Agaton has been making some very pretty maps. So I'm sure like anybody that likes that type of thing. In my position, from a entirely visual perspective, Jacaranda, that is the name of his 4-player map, that is a rotational symmetry. It really reminds me when I was a kid living in Chile, in Valle del Elqui, because there were many like purple jacaranda trees, and it just like when I saw it, I just smiled. And when I saw that it made a finalist, oh, dude, it's sometimes very hard to like just keep yourself like detached from that kind of judging when you are a map maker, because sometimes you just like well accomplished maps. They sometimes might not be pretty or attractive to players. Sometimes some very gray dark environments, but they are like just well technically implemented. But anyhow, just go scroll through the finalists and give them like a props, because they put a lot of work into this. Like, to become a finalist, you need to have been making maps at least for like a year or something, 2 years more or less, to become like a consistent finalist, because these guys have they, it's a craft.
I think that's
But
a
anyhow, the
beautiful
thing.
message. The TLDR guys show love to the map makers and don't be mean to
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
especially not on the social medias. Jason, is there anything you want to add to all the things you heard in the last 7 minutes before the last time you spoke?
Not really. Definitely pay attention to the map maker tournament and look at the maps and make an informed decision when you vote, because these are the maps that you will probably see in the ladder in a few months. So
Yeah,
How
don't
was
by the
your
way,
don't,
how
the
do you no,
finalists.
1 second, Kantu. I have a question
Oh,
for you,
sorry.
Jason. So
Carsten.
Jason, after now being part of it and you really put a lot of time and effort into judging the maps, how do you look back at your experience of all of this over the last 2 weeks?
I view map judging as like jury duty for, or like a high profile case, because like I take it very seriously, but I also don't enjoy it that much because it's just like jury duty. But I do know that it's going to affect the maps that I play on in the future, so I take it very, very seriously. And I do take the time to look at all the small things that would potentially ruin um my ladder games or my tournament games or anybody else's tournament games, like a cannon that can be placed behind a mineral line with one pylon blocking it. So yeah, those are really the only things.
Kantu, where are we right now in the latest TLMC map voting contest? Is voting closed or can we still vote?
I believe that voting closed, uh, but we will be releasing the finalists.
All
So
right.
in the couple, like they were like drafting the document. I shouldn't be leaking it, but we were in that process. So
All
we
right.
will be very happy to announce the finalists in the upcoming days. And after that, it will come. Well, we are already now in the so-called iteration period. So if anybody like saw any problem or any perceived problem, be sure to write it up in the potentially like the Reddit thread or the Team Liquid map contest thread. So the map makers can just make like a note of that problem and go down their checklist and ensure that the maps are like on a thumbs up position in order for them to be picked up later by Blizzard or by ESL and go into ladder. I will still be going a second round of quality assurance to them before they are sent off to the quality assurance at Blizzard that lasts 2 months, 3 months more or less. And then it's up to the Blizzard management to control like when they will enter rotation. So probably
Of
like
course,
six
of course.
months from now or like 4 months from now, something like that.
All right. I think it's time to wrap it up because we have a Q&A to dive into and a This Week in StarCraft to dive into. And I know that especially Fear Dragon, Silicon Valley is calling his name right now. He doesn't have all day.
I'm responding to
So,
Slack messages as we
yeah.
talk.
Oh.
So I'm gonna give you guys a final opportunity to just talk about everything that we spoke about and something that you really feel that can just make all of this better, or the one absolute last thing you want to get off your chest. Kantu, I'll start off with you. Is there something that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you? Is there something else you really want to show? And let's not keep it too long.
Is he getting a second notebook?
Oh no! All right,
He's getting a second notebook.
is that actually
Don't keep
happening?
it too long, so he just left.
What is happening? A dog?
Oh my god.
This was 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Okay.
On board.
Well, if that's the last thing that he wanted to contribute to
Was
the map.
sleeping on my bed.
Okay.
What a
Uh,
cutie.
other than the very cute, adorable dog, is there something else that you really want to get off your chest, mate?
No, not really. Just like it's a matter of feedback. Wherever there is a map maker asking for feedback on streams or on Reddit, be sure to, if you can, like just play around with the map. It must be uploaded to Battle.net, obviously, but that's it. Like I just want like the community in general to engage a lot with map makers and to just to give feedback wherever possible, because I believe that keeping that tight is like the absolute best that you can do for a map maker and for the entire system as a whole. But yeah, no, carry on.
Jason, if I
Hey,
would
man.
make you in charge of everything, from this point on, you are the big boss of everything TLMC related. How do you fix everything heading into the next season of the TLMC map making contest?
I think we went over a lot of great ideas today. I think the main point is that change needs to happen and more people need to participate to lighten the workload for everybody and get us better results. And it's as simple as that. People need to, and it's going to come down to people reaching out and taking the extra step. But if we actually want to be in a situation where everybody's happy with the map pool, like a lot of stuff has to change with how the process is used to make maps and judge them and vote them into the pool.
Did you like my idea of elections? We never have
Yeah,
elections.
dude, we can make a Reddit post and like this problem would be solved by just asking pros to reach out to Kantu on Discord about judging. Like, I think it's a really easy problem to solve, in my opinion. But
I don't even think it has to be pros. Like, I really feel that I
could be
value
anybody.
the opinion of a diehard community member that may have never been a caster and may have never been a pro player, but has
Yeah.
followed StarCraft for 7 or 8 years. I generally believe that they can be very good already in like the pre-selection process. Maybe not the final 20 to the 4. Maybe that's where you want people with a little more experience, but I honestly think that we can let people apply. They can write a little bio about why they
Yeah.
think they would be good for this, they would be fit for it, and why they are passionate about it in the first place. And then people can vote, and we can form a little council. And
Yeah,
I
it's
honestly
not.
think that could help.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm
Whatever
special
I
anyways.
write,
I'm 5.2K Protoss on NA. Like anybody can do this.
wherever I write like those emails and contact lists to the potential judges, I always add at the bottom like, if you have any human sacrifice that you will help me out in order to seek out judges, like please mention them. And I've got a couple human sacrifices in the last few years. It has been good.
Ravi, is there anything else, matey?
No, Kev, I've said everything I had to say.
Is there something that you would like to do? Because I know that you're always looking for creative ideas, fun tournaments to run in your spare time.
Look,
Do you feel
Kev,
like there's a
all I'm
way to?
saying, all I'm saying is that if Blizzard gave us an accelerator zone, but the accelerator zone only worked on buildings, but it's a small thing. You can only fit one building in that spot, and everyone has one in their base. So now you have to choose: do I put my Robo there? But if you put your Robo there, then like you're committed. You can't put like your Stargate there for the transition. If you put a gateway there, you can help with your rush.
Fear Dragon.
Let's
What-
move on.
what are we
done.
doing?
I'm done.
Yeah,
Kev.
This is how
Fear
we're ending it,
Dragon.
Ravi. Really,
Fear
man.
Dragon. What will you do when you start having like the Terran's position just an add-on in there?
I just
And
get
then
written
just
off the
get their
show.
their siege their and then having like their timing push with the Marines like 3 minutes or like 2 minutes earlier, and then after that the siege tanks, and after that it comes like whatever things from.
That's when I put my
Oh, God,
shield
the-
battery in the accelerator zones, and it heals twice the speed. Let's go. Let's move on, Kev. We're done. We're done.
All right, the TLDR of everything, we need more water slides. That was the TOMC map discussion. I cannot believe in how many circles we went, but it's actually kind of cool to hear all the different point of views and the different takes. And I obviously think the most important message of all of this, guys, is don't be a dickhead on the internet. Do not insult map makers because you don't like their map. Don't be a freaking weirdo. That's all we really ask. And other than that, if you do feel passionate about this, provide useful feedback through the platforms that Kantu mentioned multiple times. But I also still think we fundamentally have to change the entire contest. I don't think it's rocket science. I agree with Jason. I really just think you need to not start thinking, how do we make this better while we have 170 maps and then we need to judge everything and needs to be ready for the contest. No, the structure just needs to be improved. Get a proper group and make it smaller, trim it down. And then I honestly think that you'll find a lot of good feedback from pro gamers, casters, community figures, and whatnot. Cobra, are you still here, mate? Because I saw you were suffering a little bit.
I was laughing, a little bit suffering. It's fine. I just faded Ravi's camera out when he started talking about the accelerated zone for buildings, then we were fine. So we got Patreon questions coming right up. If you want to submit questions, just head over to our website, thepylonshow.com. There's a nice little button that says Patreon Q&A. When you click this button, it takes you over here. When you log in, it takes you to a site where you can type up a question for us. Now, we're going to close this in about 2 or 3 minutes because we've got a bunch of questions already. But yeah, Kev, this is what we got so far. Take it away.
And if you guys haven't noticed it yet, I now have a beautiful Patreon badge under my stream as well. I've never had a Patreon, guys. I've been streaming for over 10 years, and as a streamer, I've never had a Patreon because I always thought it was a bit silly where I'm streaming and you hope for a sub, you hope for a donation, to then also have a Patreon. It felt weird to me to ask money through multiple platforms. But now I did put the Pilot Show Patreon on there. Obviously, that money does not go directly towards me. It goes towards Cobra and other people that are very passionate and involved in making the Pilot Show possible. The Pilot Show has been around for a long time, and it'd be an absolute shame to see it disappear. So we're not going to let that happen. The Patreon used to do a lot better than it's currently doing, and it's my job, I guess, to make those numbers go up again a little bit. So if you guys have a couple extra bucks and you like what Cobra, Dan, Jeff have done over the years, and hopefully you like what I'm going to do with this show, please consider it if you can. Would be very appreciated. Let's go ahead and dive into the Q&A then, shall we? First up, Nachtcap. I don't know if it's Nachtcap, by the way, but that's just my Dutch pronunciation. Seeing Nick's bike rides, I couldn't help but notice there are a lot of bare concrete without gravity. Is that just not a thing in Korea? That also got me thinking if anything in Korean attitude or culture precludes giving unused debt or in-between spaces to project that thrive of not being too organized. That is the absolute last question on this planet I expected. I thought we are going to talk about lasers, cannon rushes, and whatnot. Gravity in Korea, is it a thing, Fear Dragon?
Well, here's the thing, is that Asiatic black bears are actually an endangered species, so I think it's very important that we limit the usage of bare concrete walls in Korea just for species preservation. All right, we're good?
I have no idea. I have been to Korea 4 or 5 times myself, or maybe even more, actually, 7 or 8. I have indeed not noticed a lot of gravity. The reason why it's not a thing is honestly because I think in general, the people in Asia, they have got strict parents and they raise their children very well. And I think they just get raised with the idea of you probably shouldn't spray shit on other people's property. And I just kind of feel that people behave very well in general. That's the only thing that I've got for you. I haven't seen it a lot either. I'm sure it's a thing, right? It has to be a thing. It's a thing everywhere. But yeah, Asian cities, at least Seoul, tends to be pretty clean in general. Have you ever been, Jason?
I have not, dude.
Kanto, have you ever made your way over to Korea?
Oh no, but I can't avoid but thinking on the Hagia Sophia, in Istanbul, in Turkey. There is graffiti from Vikings back in the 1400s or something, and they write like I was here with the runic stuff because the Byzantines used to be like a better Merovingian guard. They used to have like a guard of just Vikings. So just tall, freaking blonde guys like with muscles and swords. And they used to be like, that used to be like their guard. So I'm thinking that if there is graffiti in the Hagia Sophia and other places like that from Vikings, maybe in temples or like the foundations of the rocks in lots of like older Asian, on quotes, because there is Chinese, South Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, etc. Maybe there is graffiti in there as well. So I'm thinking maybe there is like some cool stuff, like some Portuguese that traveled all the way in the 1700s or something and wrote like I was here as well in Portuguese.
I guess he was more asking about like just the street graffiti.
No, when it comes to culture, like I don't know. It's like I don't want to like generalize them because there is, as you were saying, like it's graffitis everywhere. The people are people. Like there is some things that they are.
But I mean, in certain countries, there could be very high fines, for instance, and I think that's like I don't know what the rules are in Korea, but there is a good chance that maybe if you spray graffiti at places where you're not allowed to do it, you'll get a proper fine.
Personally, I have the artist heart and the anarchist side, and I really like graffiti. For example, like not like dicks, drawn in a wall, but like something large that is like impressive. Like it prettiest the environment up. But it's cultural thing, I guess.
All right.
I'm not a sociologist, but anyhow, carry on, Rodi.
Yeah, I mean the TLDRs at Seoul is beautiful. There might be some graffiti
Yeah.
there, but there is definitely not a whole lot of it. Next question is by Polly. Should tournaments use more non-ladder maps like GSL does? How would it hurt a tournament in terms of competitiveness and being comparable to other tournaments? And would a tournament consisting of 0 ladder maps even be relevant?
As a pro
Juggernaut
player, that
Jason.
scares the shit out of me
Jason, take
thinking of
this.
that. I
Can
could
I
never
actually-
play a tournament without having like ladder practice on the maps first. That would be so
But-
scary.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? This actually used to be how it was. This is how MLGs operated. Back in the day, MLGs literally used a different ladder or a set of maps than the actual
And
ladder.
IPL and NASL as well.
Yeah,
you'd
we
have to
went
have-
through this period and then we decided it was terrible. So
Rather,
you want-
friends to play with.
listen. From my absolutely biased perspective, IPL just like kind of went down, and NSAL like just decided that it was terrible because all the pro players were lobbying against it. So I will fight you, okay, against this. But I don't believe that it will be good because, as Jason was saying, like players need the practice. So unless you have like a Kespa type body forcing everyone to just like to with a whip to play on them, they will just play ladder rather. Even in Korea, for example, like whatever they used to have like more non-standard maps, but because the programmers away from Kespa pivoted towards a more Western type, just ladder grind, things have been moving away. Like I don't believe that it will be better. Actually, like you might see like
All right.
different. It will be pretty, but I don't believe that it will be.
So, Kanto, I have one
Better.
question for you. A little while ago, before we had our most recent change to the map pool, it was pretty obvious that like we were playing on those maps for a long time. The map pool that had obviously Romanticide in it already, and then minus the 3 new maps we got this season. Did anyone of ESL or I don't know DreamHack ever reach out to you and said like, "Hey, we'd actually really like to use 1 or 2 maps that are not part of the current map pool at the moment"?
No, I don't know how much I can talk about that.
Okay, then you don't
But
have to.
no, like it's completely fine. But not particularly. Like that happens sometimes. Sometimes I get like some Spanish tournament that wants just like full custom maps, and then that happened like a couple of years ago. And then I just like talk with all the map makers obviously and said, hey guys, these guys want like a bunch of like cool maps. Let's make something for them. And now everybody like just, and we make some spreadsheets and whatever, and everybody votes, and it's tons of fun for those. Like it's just tons of fun for those. So sometimes I like go and like I'm old and everything. I'm not like the cool kids now, like Superhuman that is still like making maps, but I still like maybe I will submit something to those type of tournaments, and then because it's for the map makers that manage everything, we just vote around it. But yeah, sometimes it happens. It's very cool when it does. Such as, for example, Total Biscuit that we used to assist with the making of the maps, or Creighton that I'm not sure if if he will still continue to do the Mapper's Delight. That was also like in the same style than the. But yeah,
Yeah, but I
varies.
guess it's not quite the same high profile. Like I personally would not be against, let's say if the DreamHack Masters Falls seasons happen and we still have the same maps that we've had for a while, that they say like, hey, we're using 5 ladder maps and now we're using 2 maps of the most recent TLMC contest, and they announce it way in advance to the pros. I honestly think that'd be kind of cool. My one fear is that it just gets vetoed all the time until you make semifinals and finals. That's obviously a big issue.
That's probably what will happen, because it's a matter of not even like people wanting to go around against and play test it. It's a matter of like trends and forces, basically. I don't believe that it will be better. Basically, it's something that needs to be ironed out with the dev team, ESL, and you and DreamHack and etc. But yeah,
Ravi, Jason, anything to add?
Nah.
I said my piece.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Polly, for your question. Next up, the question of Hyper Turtle. Does TLMC have any involvement with team ladder maps? Question mark. And when a problem is found with a map, how much of fixing goes to the map maker, Blizzard, or ESL? I guess Kantu, you're the best person to answer this one.
Yeah, Team Blue Map Contest used to do the Team Blue Map contests, and they were run also by me and the same gang. But we will invite judges that were like high ranking in the team games scenario. So, for example, Monk, or who else? Poke Bunny, Meisenhower. I'm sure that it might be names that you guys can recognize. They used to like assist out on the team maps. But I was talking with Meisenhower reached out to me, and he told me that, as we were already aware, the map pool for team maps has been quite stale comparatively to the seasons of the 1 versus 1 map, and that's like a very difficult situation because ESL, Shopify, they are carrying already a burden, like helping us out with the 1 versus 1 maps, but loading the map with like extra weight to carry around with, for example, the team maps, it might be just too much, and they just don't have the strong incentives for it versus the 1 versus 1 ones. So in this situation, it's something that we are very much up in the air. And I will very much, if, for example, someone at least might be listening in from the dev team, be sure to reach me so we can like ideally like set up something up, or maybe an alternative route that Team Blue Map Contest, so it doesn't have all the overhead costs such as administration and sponsorships and something like. But it's painful for me, but because I'm personally not a team maps guy. But the team maps guy, I listen to them. So they are like tired of playing like from a map from 2017, as I was told. There is still one from them. But yeah, that's it for now. It's something that is in development. Like, that's all that I can say. Like, we are aware of it, and it's certainly in development. You will have to see like in the next months like what will happen.
Okay, I am happy to hear that. Next question from our very lovely Alexander, who also helps making the pilot show awesome. So shout out to you. Which race players complain the most about maps? We're going to talk about that. How do you make a map fair for every race playstyle, including cheeses? That is a lot of questions. Let's start off with the first one, and Kantu, keep it short, otherwise we're never going to finish the show. Which race players complain the most about maps? One word answer.
Terrans.
Terrans complain the most. I am not surprised. How do you make a map fair for every race and playstyle, including cheeses? What boxes do you need to check for each race? Juggernaut Jason, I'm going to let you answer this one because you just went through the entire judging process.
You literally, the answer is you get judges from every race to judge the map, and then every professional that plays that race is on the lookout for the very specific things regarding that race, such as a Terran player would look at Liberator spots, would look at bunker spots, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Different type of proxies. For example, a third base that is like a semi-island, so you can.
That was Jason's question, Kantu. Don't
Cheating,
hijack
he's
it.
cheating.
All right, I will let all three of you guys comment on this one real quick, but I think we already kind of know where it goes. But I'm going to start off with you, Fear Dragon. Parting spine block of Solar's ramp in GSL last week. Thoughts?
It was okay. Obviously, one pylon's pretty good, but there was a lot of surface area on that pylon.
Jason, thoughts?
It's ditto.
Kantu, thoughts?
We need more of those.
I don't
All
know.
maps should have one pylon blocks.
Let's go.
No more Zergs.
Go,
No
dude.
more Zergs on ladder.
Okay, my
Zergs
thoughts on it. I
are
actually
illegal
answered
now.
the question a couple times already on stream. I don't think it's Parting's fault at all. I saw some people actually almost getting upset with Parting and calling him like a filthy abuser, and it's not fair. I honestly think this is all on the GSL. They grabbed a map that clearly wasn't ready yet. This is not the map maker's fault. This is not Parting's fault. Parting is just the one who's clever enough to find out the bug before anyone else did. But yeah, Solar kind of got screwed, but this truly is only on one person only, and that is the person that selected this map for the GSL, thought it was ready. It wasn't ready. this is one of these things that it happens, and at least it got people fired up and it gave people something to talk about. So I'm always happy to see that. Next up, the Red Gunner guy. I know that we have been getting a lot of questions from you in the past. I really appreciate you being a long-time supporter of the Pylon Show. What is the verdict on 4-player maps at the moment? How can we still keep the game fresh via the map pool as seemingly done in Brood War? What about updating old maps to be the current meta? And does it surprise you how little people know about how maps are added? And do you make fun maps? That's a lot of questions. What is the verdict on 4-player maps at the moment? Jason.
Most pro players hate them because you can't scout the last location quickly enough to stop tweet cheese in time, so it kind of changes the whole game and breaks it. 4-player maps with only 2 potential spawns, so no close spawn, is actually completely fine in my opinion. Again, it's a debate within the community. Some people will disagree with that, some people won't. Depends on your own play style, I think. But most pro players don't really like 4-player maps for the reason I mentioned.
Fear Dragon. How can we still keep the game fresh via the map pool, as seemingly done in Brood War?
Okay, my serious answer is that I think that there are cool things. This is like the unrealistic way of doing it, but I think that there are cool ideas for like tools that we could give map makers, like how we added neutral missile turrets and things like that. I think there are actually a lot of I actually think that there are a lot of like cool potential things. Like my idea that I really like is basically having destructible rocks that don't just like disappear at the like when you destroy them, but like there's some counterplay where like someone knocks down the rocks, you can like, I don't know, put them back up or something like that. Like basically some sense of like a Zelnaga door that you attack it enough and then it like slides over or something like that. And then if you do it again, it opens. I feel like there might be some really cool ways to do that, but those all require dev efforts. I don't know how realistic it is.
Yeah, Conte, you wanted to say something?
How can we still keep the game fresh pool via the map pool seemingly done in Brood War? It's a systemic thing, as Fear Dragon was saying. The system itself needs to be pivoted in order to provide that type of maps, as opposed to, for example, how, for example, Warcraft 3 now might work. ESL had the idea that they really liked how it was working, and I also really like it as well because it's very grassroots. So short ideas that might work, that might not work, can be tested very fast. So it's something that might be discussion with Bliss or with ESL more than anything else. I believe that's very much an opening that will be explored. Maybe not what Fear Dragon said of the gates, but no, something like that. It's very much open.
All right. Next question was obviously, does it surprise you how little people know about how maps are added? I don't think it surprises me because in a way I knew little about it. I've always known about the TLMC, but I had no idea that it was, to put it frankly, such a shit show apparently that everyone is upset and even the map makers are upset and then the judges are upset and the players are upset.
I believe that my duty is to ensure that everybody is upset an even amount.
Yes, but I think the map makers should technically never be upset, right? I think that is one thing that is important. Like people that put time and effort into making a map. Like players, pro players, they can be upset. That's okay. As long as players from all 3 races are upset, I'm sure that that's fine. But I think in the end of the day, it is important for all of us to entertain the viewers with fun maps, make sure that the game feels fresh, and that the map makers feel appreciated and rewarded. I think that's important.
Can't put agree.
All right. Last question. How do you make a fun map? Contu, what's fun?
Oh my god. What Creighton Olsen was doing with his Mapper Delight, that is fun. What Total Biscuit was doing with the ShowCraft Clan Wars, we had a map that had a cannon, a huge cannon in the middle of the map, and it was bugged. And because it was bugged, Zerg could send an overlord at the start of the game and capture it. But you can't do that, for example, with a Zelnaga, that you need ground units. So then it will be like Zergs versus Zergs trying to capture the cannon, and they will like rush their overlords, and then they will do 12 pulls, and then transition into macro games. All the while the cannons was firing and changing hands. That is fun. And
Like, I
Creighton was
saw,
doing the
sorry
same
to
thing.
interrupt you real quick. I saw this map as well where if you have like a Zergling on a platform, it would lower the door and then like the other links could run in or something, right? There was like, or a
Yeah,
drone
yeah.
has to be on the right side in like the pocket expand and it would lower the door. I think that kind of stuff is fun. Like it's a bit gimmicky, but I do think
Yeah,
like,
no, it's absolutely gimmicky.
yeah,
It's absolutely gimmicky, but it's fun for like 2 weeks or something, and you can just then roll it out and just say like, "Hey, that was fun. Now with standard maps." And then,
like the water
but yeah,
slide. We haven't had a water
Creighton has been
slide
doing
on the
like.
ladder map pool yet, and I'm obsessed. Because like I played that the home story cup map. I forgot the name. I think Maras is the one who made it, which had all the water slides. I had so much. Do you guys know how cool it is to flank with charging zealots down a water slide and then run into a Terran that's two base all inning you? That's awesome. And I don't think just because it's not necessarily always the greatest thing for competitive play, that doesn't mean we should just shy away from it. I think we should
Yeah, for
embrace
the
it.
home story cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Home
Like, why
story
not?
cup
Like, Home
stuff.
Steer Cup is definitely the
Yeah.
kind of tournament that can have a crazy map or two even in the map pool. But yeah, the TLDR is how do we make fun maps? We make them crazy. Let's move on. Lord Philium, no, it's Lagan. Sorry, Lagan. How much the judges discussed together about categories and submissions, for example, was there any shared vision what good multi-spawn or multi-level maps should look like? And what would be the best place for getting feedback from pros and others outside of TMC time window? Streams aren't documented. Kantu, this question is for you, clearly.
Um, there wasn't a concise discussion, as Jason can say. Generally, this is before my era when it comes to Team Liquid Map Contest. We have been running this as like 8 years. I have been running them helping because I'm volunteer since 5 years. So in those 3 early years, they were run by the Team Liquid Strat team with Monk, Julmust, and many other guys that are sage old guys, Plexa, and they will have like deep discussions about the maps. The difference between that and what we have now, that is what we have now, it is more mechanic. It is more mechanic. It is just spreadsheets and the judges voting more than anything else. There is no deep discussion sometimes, and it pains me unless for example that I go seeking feedback from the judges for specific maps, specific points for the finalists in order to compile feedback for the map makers later, that kind of stuff. So besides that, there is not much besides the spreadsheet, and this has been like a point of discussion for the map makers because they want the entire spreadsheet of all the votes. And I told them that once you have the spreadsheet, then you will want all the races, and when you have all the races, then you will want like all the probably the names of the judges, and after that you will want to discuss like why this is a 3.5 versus a 3.2. And if there is inconsistency in those ratings, then you will get mad, and you will be right to be mad. But that's the grit of democratic systems. As democratic mechanic systems such as voting versus humanistic type discussions that might happen back old in the teal and the strat team. Maybe they could have had like very good discussions. They probably had, but they didn't have like an standardized system where every single map is listed and we know like the rankings of everything relative to others and etc. So it has its bonus and it has its drawbacks. I need to go at length on this question because Legan is also a map maker and he also submitted, and I'm sure he also like lost a couple maps, so he needs to know like what's going on more or less, and he needs to understand like the benefits of certain system versus others. Carry on, Rotti. That's it.
Completely irrelevant to the question that was just asked. But let's say I make a map, right? And I submitted it to TLMC 14. I think it's really good, but it didn't even really make it into the voting phase. Can I just like immediately submit my map again for TLMC 15?
Yes, you can, and I will tell
Okay.
you feedback that you might use in order to improve it further.
Awesome. Okay, that was my question. Let's move on. Cobra, thank you very much, Loco, for stopping by. Yeah, I guess the second part of the question of Legan. I think we already kind of covered that throughout the show, so I think we
Yeah,
can move on.
streams.
Thank
It's
you
feedback.
very, yeah, thank you very much, Shido, mate, for your question. Next up, Lord Philium. Faster game speed, more workers at the start. Almost all the maps are 2-player. Do you think there's been a change in the strategic elements of SC2 with the evolution of SC2? I'm happy to see build order wins are less likely, but do you feel like the old style benefited certain playstyles? Fear Dragon, that's for you, matey.
Yeah, I actually do agree with this, and I think that, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but I think there was something that was cool about from a spectator perspective, and also for a certain type of player that could adapt. For example, on like a 4-player map where not necessarily like the super close spawns, but like you could spawn diagonal or vertical or something like that, where you basically are adapting and on the fly to like what the situation is, or you're basically having some reactionary stuff that happens, like things like that. There's certain types of maps that we've definitely shifted away from that I think were interesting or like catered more to like certain type of players' skills. So I do think that there has been a shift in that. I don't know if it's good or bad. Maybe those are not the players that we want to cater to. I'm not sure.
Jason.
Hey.
Hey, did you want me to repeat the question or
No,
you know?
I mean, I just never liked it when the game was slower. I like how the game is right now. Build order wins still exist. They don't exist as much as they used to, but I don't know. I just like the current speed of the game, at least. I don't know how deep I can dive into this question though.
You can go as deep as you want, man, because I feel like it's not quite the Jason show yet. I want to see more Jason. I want to see fired
don't-
up. I want to see you passionate about something.
There's no passion in this question though. It's just like, do you want less workers or more workers? I like the current amount of workers.
Okay.
I think the game. Okay, so like back in Wings of Liberty days when it used to take 7 minutes every single game just to get to where we're at the start of the game now was ridiculous, and I don't ever want to go back to that.
Kantu?
God damn. I have so much to say and at the same time so little.
All right.
It is what it is. It is what
That's
it
a
is.
good way to sum it up. I would like to answer this question quickly as well. I actually really think that people romanticize the past a lot more. And it's kind of like how once upon a time they have a relationship and then they forget about why the relationship is really bad, but they only think of like that one cute night at the beach with some candles. And I feel like that's how people think back of Wings of Liberty. They're like, oh, it's so good. And I'm like, guys, did you know that Medivacs couldn't even boost up in Wings of Liberty? How the hell is a Terran player supposed to drop a Protoss ever or a Zerg, and their Medivacs are slow as dirt? And then on top of that, it's like Jason said, it took 11 minutes to get there in the first place. It really wasn't that good. It was good because it was new, and we saw a lot of things for the first time. But that doesn't mean that it would be good in the current day and age. And I really think if people would actually go back and put themselves through a lot of the pain of another Immortal Sentry all in. Like right now, we complain a little bit about too many Void Rays, too many Stargates in PvZ. Go back and watch 200 Immortal Sentry 2-base all-ins in a row. Now that's bad. Okay, so I actually do think it's a lot better now than it used to be.
Agree.
What were you saying about Medivacs? Oh yeah, Medivacs, and specifically the Medivac boost, and specifically the buff to Medivac speed that happened on early Legacy of the Void, reduced map variety. Reduced map variety, and it makes different types of maps less likely than standard maps. So that in specific is like, but with the rest, I'm like completely up. Like, I like StarCraft 2 as it is. I have written extensively in the past about random stuff, no worker pairing systems and different types of pathfinding for the units, that kind of stuff. It's okay as it is.
I think StarCraft 2 could be a lot better, but this is
it's a StarCraft.
we can dedicate an entire show to this. I think we can make StarCraft 2 a lot better and a lot more awesome. And I think StarCraft 2 is the best RTS ever made, but I actually believe there is plenty of room to make an even better RTS, and that's why I am hopeful for the future. However, to think that StarCraft 2 was better 10 years ago or 9 years ago than it currently is, that really isn't the case. And I challenge anyone to actually go back and watch a full tournament of an Immortal Sentry all-in, Swarm most or slow Medivacs. It's pure pain. Okay?
I used to literally punch my keyboard at how bad the game was. I haven't punched my...
No. And of course, you can say that it became very mechanical in this day and age, and that's something a lot of people point out. It's a lot about mechanics, it's a lot about speed, it's less about strategy. But the whole idea of I do a strategy and you can't counter it, and now it's gonna win, that doesn't make a good build anyway. So I think we should be pretty happy with the current state of StarCraft. Let's move on. Cobra, what do you got?
Last question.
Last question by Shampoo McTavish. It seems to me like the game's balance has been relatively good for a while now, and that we still have new strategies and developments in the meta, despite no significant balance patches for a while. Have we reached the point where the game can stay fresh and balanced without getting more patches? Juggernaut Jason.
I think we need another Void Ray balance patch. I think it needs to do double the damage as soon as possible. But for real, like
That's what.
All right, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, that's what everybody said, like, before Bisu like revolutionized PvC, right? Back then in Brood War. So you need to revolutionize TVP against both rays. Come on, Jason, you can do it. Be Bisu.
I don't know if I would even agree that the game is relatively well. I mean, the game is relatively well balanced. We do see relatively even results in tournaments. It's just designed not ideally in some matchups right now. One of which I would arguably say is PvP. But it's you could do a whole other episode on this topic alone. So I don't want to gnaw your ear off here.
I'll invite you for that episode, Jason.
For just a little bit, Roddy, if I can steal the show for the nth time. Jason, what do you mean for PvP? Do you mean for the proxies?
Well, I think dude, I'm still learning PvP so much, and this matchup is ridiculously difficult to figure out what is going on in the first 5 minutes of the game. But shield batteries are actually the best. Overcharged shield battery is the best thing I've ever seen in StarCraft 2. Ever. It can heal. Literally, one immortal getting healed by an overcharged shield battery can like withstand any amount of stalkers you can ever make.
Yeah.
Skillless disagrees, by the way. Skillless is like, it's
Jason, you're forgetting. It had the power to revive others, but it could not save itself.
Dude.
That is the weakness.
It seems like everybody's a little bit unhappy in some matchup in some way, but I'll realistically agree that the balance itself does seem like it's in a good place. If you just look at like results in tournaments.
Yeah, Dragon.
Yeah, I very actively stay out of balance discussions. That's why most of my balance tweets and stuff are actual just straight up memes. But yeah, I for the most part am enjoying a lot of the games. There's definitely some stress points and stuff. I'm with Jason that there's like some things that I don't enjoy as much, but overall, yeah, I think that people are figuring stuff out, and it's cool. I think I definitely enjoy a lot more when I see meta developments that happen because players adjust or players like figure out new build orders or ways to like react to things. Like even just like the we're talking about PvP and stuff, and like how max packs, so like the one gate expand, like that's a development that came without a balance change. Like regardless of whether it's good or bad, like I really always enjoy seeing when without a balance change we see big meta shifts. So
people don't realize how long it takes for meta to shift on one patch that hasn't changed. It takes a long time.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, my opinion on it is that I do think it is important to have a patch once in a while, and it doesn't have to be a game-breaking patch. We don't need a new unit, we don't need new defensive stuff, but I think it is important to just give the game a fresh feeling, because StarCraft 2 is not Brood War, and people have reached a ridiculously high skill level in StarCraft 2, so we can't really apply any Brood War logic to StarCraft 2, because Brood War is so much more mechanically demanding in a way where making anything work in that game in the first place is a real challenge already. You don't need to tell Sarah, Raynor, or Clem how to make something work in StarCraft 2. If it's good, they're going to keep doing it, and they're going to keep being better at a certain strategy. That's why I think a patch once in a blue moon is important. My one issue right now is not that the game is imbalanced, but I do think it's not fun for a lot of mediocre Zerg players. I think if you're at the very upper echelon of the game, it's fine. If you're not quite top tier, I think playing against Void Ray, Expand, 3-base Protoss each and every single game with a lot of cannons and batteries, I genuinely believe that this has made a lot of Zergs not retire, but kind of stop laddering for a little bit, because they're sick and tired of the combination of this map pool and Void Rays and batteries, and that's obviously not a good place to be in, right? We want all three races to have fun, and if if nobody besides the top tier Zergs have a fun time playing against Protoss as Zerg, I think that's a real issue.
So guys, if you're in Lambo stream and you see that he's struggling with this stuff, just say like, look, the only reason you're struggling is because you're a mediocre Zerg player. Look, it's not my words, it's Rotterdam's words, but
Lambo qualifies as top tier
Get
Fear
good.
Dragon. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking about a lot of the guys between, let's say, like 4,500 MMR and 6K MMR. They're being vocal about it. They hate it, and I think just for looking at that point of view, I think it's important to once in a while have a little patch. Maybe Void Rays are a little... I don't think Void Rays are imbalanced, but I do think they're very good and easy to use. Anyway, moving on. What else do you got for me, Cobra?
We're going to shout out our $100 supporters of our Patreon as one of our... That's just listed as one of our things that we do each week, thanking them very much. So those three are Maker Shane, Jerry Wang, and Codiferous87. We also have
Cody
a lot of
Fury, yes,
people.
he's amazing. Thank you guys so much for being a $100 supporter each and every single month of the Patreon. You want to go down the list a little bit, Cobra? We've got a lot of lovely names in here. I see Maynard on this list sometimes. That makes me happy.
Yeah. We have a lot of
Yeah.
people that are longtime
he's
supporters
the
here.
fifth one.
And some people,
Yeah,
by the
a
way,
public service.
some people asked me how this was sorted because they were very confused about why it was sorted in this specific manner. It's actually sorted by alphabetical only after how long they've been a supporter and how much they've donated. So it looks like they go down a little bit of an alphabetical order, and that's because they've donated a certain amount for a certain period, and then those people get grouped together, and then they get alphabetically sorted, and then it goes on to the next list. So that's how this is. That's how that page exists.
All right. And where can people sign up again if they want to support the Pylon Show, Cobra?
You'd go to the pylonshow.com, and up at the very top, there's a button that would take you
Wrong.
to...
There's a button on Rotterdam's Twitch channel, mate.
That's
Come
it.
on.
My bad.
Why are you making it so hard when it could be so easy? You're watching the screen, you scroll to the button, you click on the Patreon badge. I think it's beautiful. I think you've done an amazing job with it. Does that mean that it's time to dive into This Week in StarCraft 2 and go over a couple of beautiful pages?
Yes. Before we do that, however, we have a new segment we wanted to try out called Spotlighting the Various Things in the Scene that's kind of cool. This one is from the StarCraft Observer, pointing out some artwork somebody made. And so each week we're going to try to have a little spotlight of cool things that people have made around the scene. So do send in submissions for that on our Discord, or DM them to me or the Pylon Show Twitter or something like that. And
This is just one of the many things that we want to do. We basically want to, each and every single week, this is something I spoke with Cobra about, I want to highlight one StarCraft 2 streamer. I want to highlight the funniest clip of the week, or at least one of the funniest clips of the week, or just something else that's very cool. I obviously think this drawing is incredibly well made. I would literally, if I would have this, I would frame it immediately and I'd put it on my wall. Like, that is honestly incredibly well done. What did you want to say, Fear Dragon?
I really like this. No, actually, I want to give a shout out to StarCraft Observer especially because they've actually this, for those who don't know, it's a guy named Nish who's been running it. He's been doing a killer job both on Twitter. He also has an Instagram where he literally, if you like this kind of StarCraft artwork stuff, he's just constantly shouting out and highlighting like awesome StarCraft artwork, which I think is a super duper underrated thing in the StarCraft scene. Like, artists in StarCraft just don't get any love, and they really
In
deserve
Instagram, you mean, right? Fear Dragon?
it. Instagram, yeah. There's also an
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
No, he was also highlighting maps. He asked me like a couple times, like if I could highlight like some of my maps and some of the other map makers. Yeah, no, follow him, guys. Like literally, he's like he is the Cantu. You were saying like I do lots of work. Well, he is the Cantu of the Instagram. So it's like very very good.
Awesome. Well, this was one of our top three. One of our top picks of the week. I think we were trying to figure out how we're going to name it. And we're like, the Pylon Show top picks of the week. We're like, it's a bit lame, but we'll come up with a better name down the line. If you guys have any suggestions for this new weekly segment, the TLDR of this segment is just A, to have some fun, and B, also give some love to people that deserve some love. So does it mean it's now time for our favorite clip of the week, Cobra?
Yes. So this was picked in, chosen by its meme status, I guess. So you guys on the show won't be able to hear it. That problem will be fixed next week for an audio loop. But here we go. This is our Toes.
Unload, okay. Just can't get anything to unload.
Your forces are under attack.
I hate this. I hate this! I hate it! I hate it! Unload, okay.
Do you guys think that he has to be playing a little bit, right? I don't know Dan like this. I don't know this side of Dan. Or does Boudoir really make him do this kind of stuff?
I sometimes really wonder. I'm like, man, was Dan like this in 2005? Like at tournaments when he was playing competitively, like he loses to day 9 for the umpteenth time. Is he actually just like shouting and making this like huge scene? Maybe not like right at his computer, but like walks away to the bathroom. There's some like Halo players there that just suddenly hear this guy shouting in the bathroom stalls. I wonder sometimes. Dan has an amazing personality, and you know that because he still has made friends despite this part.
What do you think,
No,
Jason?
I was just gonna say that
I
already
agree.
Hydra took some notes from Mr. Tosis.
All right, well, that's awesome, Dan. We love that clip. Obviously, if you guys have any awesome clips for us, we gladly play multiple, but we will always only pick one clip of the week. This week, it was all still a bit rushed, and we weren't totally ready for it yet, but we just went with the Dan clip because I do think it was generally awesome. I was watching, I think, Ben's stream. I was driving somewhere in my car. I was watching Ben's stream, and then suddenly I hear Artosis, I hate this! I hate this! And I was like, what the hell is this? And then I was there to watch it, and I was like, all right, well, I think we have our Pylon show clip of the week. What else have we got, Cobra?
So now we'll transition to this week in StarCraft. But before we do, Ravi has a busy workday ahead of him, so we're going to need to say goodbye to him. So thank you for joining us and all that. Go follow him
Any
in all the
shout
places.
outs, Ravi, before we
Yeah.
let you go?
I want to shout out to the fans because, frankly, you guys
Oh.
are always keeping the StarCraft community very cool.
Thank you very much, mate, for joining us, and I wish you a good day in the world of Silicon Valley. Go make that money.
Bye.
Bye, Ravi. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
mate. We really appreciate your time. Yes, but actually now what we didn't do yet, and that makes me sad, is that we didn't have a streamer of the week. However, I'm just gonna make it up on the fly. The streamer of the week is Juggernaut Jason, former phenomenal Terran player that has now dipped his toes into playing Protoss. He streams multiple days a week, and sorry, up at Zelda, but the man does have the best looking stream on Twitch when it comes to StarCraft 2. So, Cobra, why don't you go ahead and just pull up the lovely Twitch channel of Jason real quick and show everyone at home where they can find Jason. And we'll let Jason speak on why he became the Pylon Show's StarCraft Streamer of the Week.
You know, Roddy, people tell me all the time, they're like, streamer, Protoss is broken. It takes too little APM. It takes no skill. There's no macro involved. There's no micro involved. So all I have to say is they're absolutely right, Roddy, and that's why I switched to Protoss. And I've been enjoying myself. It's been great. I've been void raying every single Terran player. They've been no GGing me. I had a barcode player no GG me, which was amazing. I had a barcode player BM me as well, which was also really good. I've basically gone behind the scenes to I'm going to start cannon rushing every Protoss that I play as well so that I can, get back at the Protoss community for the last 10 years of shit. It's going pretty well. I would definitely check it out.
All right, guys, there you have it. Go ahead and visit this man's beautiful channel, Juggernaut Jason. If you've been streaming right now, mate, you've been streaming for 4 or 5 years at this point?
At least since 2015. I can't even remember when I started. It's been that long.
All right. Well, the idea of this little part of this show is that we just pick a different streamer each and every single week, just so we can show everyone some love, people that deserve it, people that have been with us for a long time, and just do a great job when it comes to producing SC2 content. So, Jason, congrats, you're the maiden winner.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
And we'll find a Neil StarCraft streamer next week. And obviously, always join the Pylon Show Discord. If you guys have someone that you think I or the guest on the show should talk about, feel free to give us suggestions of your favorite StarCraft 2 streamer or StarCraft Brood War. We can probably show some Brood War love too. Let's go ahead and then dive right into this week in StarCraft 2. Obviously, we always had the ESL Weekly Cups happen. We had a new champ, by the way, in Europe last Monday. Gong Fu Banda, for the first time in 79 weeks, was able to win the European edition of the EPT Weekly. Congrats to Gong Fu, that's awesome. Obviously, all 3 tournaments take place each and every single week. $800 up for grabs. Big shout out to Big Daddy Shopify. It was a lot less before they joined us. Yeah, make sure to check that out. Obviously, Steadfast covers all of them, and then we have Pig and Zombie Grub covering, I think, a lot of NA. And Zombie Grub also does quite a bit of Europe. I obviously do Europe together with Wardy, and there's a whole lot more. So make sure to check out all the various streamers. The GSL has been going on. Jason, did you watch the GSL playoffs this week, matey?
Sure didn't, mate.
Sure didn't?
No.
Why not?
Was busy just playing StarCraft, dude. No time.
Busy building Void Race. All right, Kantu. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the map. We're not going to talk about the pylon. Have you been enjoying the GSL over the last few weeks?
More than anything, no. I wish I had more time to watch it, but like this is like the period where maps. It's just like months of like a couple months of days, like or just like all the time that I have is just to maps. So I just saw the games of like Solar and Parting, and that was probably it, and it
All right.
broke my heart. But Solar deserved it, and Parting is an absolute winner.
He
That's
sure
all I'm
is.
gonna say.
Obviously, GSL is currently going on. I got to say, I was a little bit disappointed with the last two quarterfinals. I won't dive too deep into it. We're going to do that in one of the future episodes. We're really going to dissect everything that has taken place in the GSL. Wasn't the greatest day, but I am very, very happy for one Korean Terran friend that I do got. It is fantastic to see him do so well, and I am pumped to see him play in the semifinals. Other than that, ESL ANC has been going on. The finals take place on the 17th of July. Now, that's going to be the 17th in Australia, which basically means that it's the night of the 16th to the 17th for Europe, and basically the 16th during the day for America, because that's how far away Australia is. They've honestly been doing a good job. I watched a little bit. They've got a fun little studio environment, and they're bantering with each other. It's been cool to follow. And last but not least, ProBots 2021 Season 2. Week 2, the bots are back. You guys can find it out at URL. I have no idea where you can find it out. I also don't know much about it, but I will make sure that I know more about it in the future. Just check out Wikipedia. That always has all the answers. What's next, Cobra? What is next? Okay, this is just an overview of the ESL Open Cups. We already covered it a little bit. Cure beat Clem, by the way, in the finals of the American. Jason, do you participate in the American Weekly?
I've started to again recently, just because I've been trying to get good again. But it's fun. I love playing versus good players with no ping. It's awesome.
What is the deepest you ever went in one of the American Weeklies?
With my Terran, I future forfeited in the round of like 8 once, and I got to the 4 because of it. That's the
And you got
farthest
money,
I've-
right?
Yeah, I did.
All right. But now the top 8 gets paid. Come on. You should be able to
Yeah.
get top 8 quite frequently.
Oh, we're trying. We'll see. We'll
All
see.
right.
We're
Conte, do you ever play or you've got no time?
I try to play as much as possible, which means I can play like a couple times a month. I used to be once in the day. I used to be a proud mid masters that once tried to reach high masters, but then it, you just have to like split something, and you need to choose between map making or like or playing because it gets like lots of time. Yeah. No, I just don't really play like beyond keeping up with the with metagame without keeping up with like all the little builds that Jason is happily doing and murdering little protos as well in ladder. I really want to talk with Parting as well, more than anything because we were talking earlier. Anyhow, I'm just diatribing again. Yeah, no, I play when I can in order to keep up more than anything else with the quality of the judging and quality of the feedback to the map makers. That is
All
like
right.
more than anything the goal.
I want to see you in one of the weeklies. Noted. Okay. I don't care when, but I'm going to see you in one of the weeklies.
Jason is gonna
Obs-
cannon rush me.
That's fine. We want to see it. Everyone is on for that. Congrats to Cure for winning the American one. I believe Parting won the Korean one. And like I said, Gong Fu for the very first time. No, it's Cure winning 2 out
Yeah,
of
Cure
3.
won again.
Cure is just a sicko. Cure, stop winning everything, mate. Leave something to the poor Protoss players. But yeah, I think my highlight, honestly, was watching Gong Fu win for the first time in 79 weeks. Finally, a new champion again in Europe. Well done, Gong Fu Banda. And I don't know if you guys know this, but that man is made out of pure raw German steel and twisted sex appeal. That's his intro, Gong Fu Banda. All right, moving on, Cobra. What else did we got? Oh my god, the GSL spoilers! Oh no! Okay, well, this was the GSL day that I was talking about. We're gonna talk a lot more about it probably next week. Next week, I feel like I want to talk about GSL. Bunny 1-3-0 against DRG. Trap 1-3-0 against SOS. You didn't see it. Kantu, did you see it a little bit?
Special. I just want to say like the most tangential thing. Like I just want to give like special like on reducing weight, and I just didn't recognize him.
Yes, he's very sexy.
I was
I
like,
agree. We're moving on, mate.
"What?"
Because we are almost fainting. I haven't ate in like 10 years, so I cannot talk about how beautiful Special is, but I do agree with you. Very sexy man. He's done an amazing job. Let's talk about the ESL ANZ. We had Cether and Pass apparently in the upper bracket final. We've got Mighty Kiwi, Crimson in the lower bracket, Azure and Pro. Jason, are you going to watch it? The playoffs, mate. July 17th.
Come back to me.
You're gonna watch it. It's gonna happen at a nice time for you, man. Like when things start over in Australia, that's like right when you go to bed. You put it on that beautiful TV of yours. Sweet baby dreams with Australian StarCraft.
Sounds amazing. I love Australians. I love it.
You want to talk about Australian StarCraft too, my friend? I take that as a no.
Take
We're
that as
moving
a
on,
no.
Cobra.
Oh,
Don't worry, mate. It's all good. But yeah, this is happening July 17, guys. Make sure to show the Aussies some love. I truly have my fingers crossed for one more Oscraft. I had the chance to go to Australia together with Zombie Grub before COVID really started taking over the world. One of the most fun events I ever did. And I know the same goes for Zombie Grub. We had such a good time. The Aussies are awesome. What else do you got for me, Cobra? Probots. No, I have no idea. Do you know anything about the Probots, Juggernaut Jason?
No, not even a little bit.
Apparently, the ES Champ Probots 2021 Season 2 is a StarCraft 2 tournament organized for AI bots, organized by ESC Champ with the support of the AI Arena community. The 4 finalists, ES Champ Probots 2021 Season 1, joined the top 12. All right, AI is duking it out with each other. Do we have any funny names? Cobra, what's your favorite name? Something funny there?
I guess it would be Micro Machine. I mean, it's hard to beat Prisma Beams, but Micro Machine and Prisma Beams looks like a matchup I'd watch.
All right, we're gonna tune in for it.
I just want to
Can't
say
wait.
that the engineers that just go and make like those bots and the games are like the funniest things ever. In Broodwar as well, for example, you have like some AIs like microing two sets of rats against like a Protoss like with scouts or something because it decided that the scouts was the best strategy or something because they are more microable. They're the highest microable unit in all of Broodwar. So you have like those types of micro like I don't want to see like Jadon level, but like far beyond Jadon level. And I want to see like I'll Cobra, please, if you can send me the link just so I can check the bots if they have any, because they are a blast to see.
We'll do it right after the show. Yep.
Oh, Strelok made a bot. If there is a Strelok bot that's made by the former Ukrainian Strelok, I'm really sad, guys. I don't know if you guys know this, but this is esports history. A long, long time ago, Strelok had a disappointing tournament or two, and then he made a video that he posted on YouTube where he basically promised to his friends that he was going to play 20 games a day. And it was the most beautiful Eastern European video of all time because he's standing in front of a carpet that's on the wall and he's like, "Hello, friends. I'm sorry for a bad tournament. I promise to do 15 push-ups. I promise." And it was so good, but I think he took it down. I really missed that video. But anyone out there who has seen the I Promise Strelok video will know that that was an absolute gem. Let's move on. Cobra, what else do you got for me?
Okay, so that was basically the overview of the top 4 that was picked, and then the rest of this we just go through as fast or as slowly as you want to go through these.
I mean, Jason or Kantu, if you guys want to talk about anything that's on the screen, you guys just hop in, okay?
All right.
And if not, I'm just going to move on. Does that work?
Let me see. In the not shows.
Yes.
Oh,
All right.
gosh.
First up is the Alamalik StarCraft tournament. Beyond won the invitational number 1. That's actually cool to see Beyond win. I mean, it's not a super convincing win, I guess, because they all have 1 win and 1 loss, but it always feels good to see Beyond win something because I feel like he hasn't been winning a whole lot lately. Let's move on, Cobra, and take a look at our next slide. We've got the OC King of the Hill weekly. I always kind of enjoy following these kinds of tournaments. And look at that. It's the Ukrainian grinder Bly who ended out on top. Who did Mana lose to? So Mana lost. Wait, what happened to Mana? I don't get this. This doesn't make any sense because Mana is just suddenly gone and then it's like 4 Jumi and spots. It doesn't make any sense. And then it's 4 Jumi again in match 11. This makes absolutely no sense to me. Mana had to leave. Aha. That's why.
Oh.
Well, I think Bly got lucky because if I look at his player list, couple good players. But I think if Mana is feeling it, he literally wins all of these games. Agree, Jason.
I agree.
All right. So Mana had to leave for TLMC. Then we're going to take a look at the Battle of the Americas. Take a look at what happened over here. It seems like pure legacy absolutely dominated the competition. A lot of convincing victories for him. Actually, a 2-0 over Trigger. I think that's a little bit surprising, Jason. How good is Trigger right now? Are you a fan? Are you on the hype train?
Trigger? I haven't played him a lot recently, but he's been doing pretty well, I've heard.
I gotta say, kind of impressive by pure legacy to get the 2-0 over him. And then the 3-0 over Patty Mac as well, who's obviously a pretty good player too. And I guess we're just gonna move on then. Congrats to Mr. PL. The Exxon Cup Open number 45. Speaking of, Trigger getting a 3-2 victory over Eric in the finals.
There you go.
Are you impressed by that victory of Trigger, Jason?
Yeah.
He took out Raza, who's also known as Razorblader in the European scene. And not too long ago, Razorblader beat like 4GG and 2 other really good players. I think Nice as well. I don't know if he beat Nice in one of the American weeklies and he made it into the money. And he took a map of Cure in the semifinals. It's like the best run of his life.
Yeah, it's a good run.
I can see you're not as passionate as I am, but it's all good, mate.
It's
Can't
a
do anything you
Protoss,
want to
so
say.
I mean, how much do you want from me? It's not like he earned it. I'm kidding.
Razorblader is a Terran player, mate.
Wait, what?
Yes. Moving on. All right, let's take a look at our next slide. We've got the Alpha X Apprentice Season 7. Seems like we're in the middle of it. Ooh, I actually love this lineup. It's very cool. Kantu, you want to talk about this real quick? It seems like they're not completely done yet, but I actually really like following guys of this level because these are the future stars that you're looking at.
Generally, yeah. And obviously, I just can't but pivot towards maps because I live for that, basically. If they are listening and they want to provide feedback or something, they are the people that I really want to talk to.
I see that
Ladies and
Aerokfire is
gentlemen.
doing incredibly well in Group B with 3 victories. That's nice to see. I wonder what's happening with Akron there. I guess he's playing Protoss. I wonder why Akron is playing Protoss. Seems a bit weird to me. Baby Marine with 1 win and 2 losses in the middle of Group A. And big shout out to Battle B, who I like to call Battle Booty for absolutely no reason other than I think it sounds really cool. But he is dominating Group A. That kid is really good. And if he keeps playing, he's only going to get better and better. Same goes for Aerokfire. Aerokfire is the best 3-gate robo player in the world, by the way. Don't at me. Moving on, Cobra. The Validity Team League Season 10. TSO Esports are in the grand final, and they will duke it out with the Art of Warfare. The finals are not scheduled yet, but make sure to take a look at Chicken Man SC, his socials, or his Twitch account, because apparently he's going to be the one broadcasting all of this. Seems like they had great semifinals. 4-3, 4-3. Bangers, guys. Bangers. No one's interested. Moving on. The TLMC
it was,
map
like,
making
very
contest. Kantu, this one is for you, mate.
Oh
Did you follow it? Did you watch the games? And were you happy with how the tournament played out?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love Wardy. We have our own little Wardy blessed emote. I love Wardy. Congratulations to Showtime, obviously. To Cure as well. Like I was sharing, like sometimes the map makers go and make like entire like spreadsheets with every single listed game. This time around we only got the first day, I believe, the first day of the tournament. So if anybody wants to get that spreadsheet, go to mapcave.net/discord, and that will take you an invite to the Discord server where the spreadsheet is posted all the time. Lots of good games, some very short ones other times. That's what Roddy and Jason were saying, that sometimes if you have a map pool with non-standard maps, players will just like rush each other, especially on the Korea server where cheese is just part of the life, and then in the North American server where cheese is also part of life, and then in the European server where people give you like good games. Um, but yeah, no, beyond that, congratulations to Showtime and to Cure for obviously making it to the finals and for giving us such a good games.
Jason, did you catch any of this?
Like one series, but I've seen so many maps. I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta say, it was very nice to see this entire tournament. I have to admit, I didn't see too many games, but I did follow the results closely. That's something weird that I do, where I always check Wikipedia whether I'm watching an event or not. And a couple of really surprising results, even in the group stages. Like Clem, his slump is continuing. He lost quite a few series early on. Awesome to see Uthermal showing up and playing a pretty decent tournament. And then obviously congratulations to Mr. Mauer. And I don't know if this was right before or after he lost a 24-minute ladder game against me. But Showtime, I just want you to know that I'm proud of it. And maybe next time you can take some of your ladder points back when you face Roddy on the ladder. Just kidding, mate. Congrats to Showtime. Obviously, shout out to Waddy for running another successful event. Next up, we've got the Copa Hyperion. It's happening on July 16th. This is edition number 24. It is for Latin American citizens and residents only. There you have it, Copa Hyperion. Big shout out to the Latin American scene. I want to make it back to Mexico. I've been once, and I'm very sad it's only been once. One of the best tournaments I ever went to. I know I said it about StarCraft, but those two I always mention, okay, dead serious about it. Do you know anything about the Copa American, Cantu? Anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, I always see them in the periphery. So, especially from Twitter. Streamers from Latin America, groups from Latin America that also, because I'm from Uruguay, that is like between Brazil and Argentina. It's like lodged in the middle. Um, and I always see them. And I used to post like a huge amount, but in the same fashion that, for example, I'm not that too connected to network to the global scene of StarCraft or competitive pro gaming. I'm also like not too connected to the Latin American, and that pains me because I get to know like so many of the guys, but at the same time I just see them in the periphery, like having their tournaments and etc. And obviously sometimes I just join and they like instantly recognize me, and that is like so fun. So no, I love them, and wherever I get the chance, I obviously go and turn into the boats more than anything, more than actual streams. But yeah, no, absolute cheers to them, dude.
All right. Love
Sentimiento
it, mate.
Latino. Yeah.
Moving on. Cobra. The Legion Cup. Chem getting a 3-1 victory over Axe. Chem, of course, our Mexican Zergi who's been spending a lot of time in Korea over the last few weeks. Axe is a long-time member of this community. He's hailing from Colombia. I met him once in Korea. Really good dude. Never really made that final jump to like the absolute top tier of the foreign scene, but these are obviously two very strong players. It's good to see Chem kind of returning to former glory or shape, I guess, getting some convincing victories, because that last season of the DreamHack SC2 Masters was a disaster for Chem. We expect better. We know he can do better, and I'm sure he will do better. Congrats on getting a W here.
Yeah, and
Sentimento
in this case, he
Latino.
defeated Jim Rising. In this case, he defeated Jim Rising. That also has been like, it's one of the old classics of the Latin American servers. But yeah,
But he should defeat Jim Rising. I mean,
Yeah.
Jim is playing random all the time and uploading funny YouTube videos of him being in the gym, and Chem is in Korea practicing StarCraft, so Chem should beat
Yeah.
Jim Rising. More Latin American StarCraft. Apparently, we got Rayu, our Italian Peruvian, getting a little victory over Eric. Congrats, actually, because Eric is obviously the slightly bigger name there. Eric normally quite good. Axe was in this tournament as well, and the Zerglord. You know, I don't know if you have this too, but for some reason, Jason, I always get hosted by the Zerglord. And like, I'm not like that close with him. He has all in me a lot. I have all in
Oh, no.
him a lot in return. And it's always like the Zerglord. He just keeps on hosting me, and I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm
You should
confused.
immediately go offline and host him back. Show him your dominance.
You're not hosting me. I'm hosting you tonight, baby. Yeah, I love it. All right, we're gonna do that. Moving on. Congrats to Ryu. Christiana getting a 3-2 victory in the CSO Cup over Kaiji. Do you know these guys, Jason?
Nope.
Really? You know Christiana though, right?
No, should I?
What? Yes, absolutely, mate. The guy was part of DreamHack. He's made it to the semifinals of some of the European weeklies. He's one of the better, younger European producers that we have.
Oh.
He is Polish but lives in Germany. And Kaiji is a little bit of an enigma, but he's a Zerg from Estonia that kind of plays like a Bly on steroids. You know what he's going to do, and it's so hard to beat him. So I'm not surprised that Kaiji took 2 maps. Who else did we have in this tournament? Anything that really stands out?
You pronounced
No.
the names perfectly, Rotterdam. Like I will be able to. I will read it as Kaiji rather than Kaiju.
Well, I don't know, mate. Nobody knows because that guy has never really
Oh,
pronounced his name. But I just go by what Harstem called him and what some other people called him offline. And everybody kind of settled for Kaiji. And I'm sure there is someone in the chat who's going to be like, that's really wrong. But shout out to Cristiano for winning another online cup. He wins a lot of them. What else do we got? The Dojo Cup World Team League. Obviously, this was a very big event. I'm almost afraid to ask you guys if you caught any of it. I have to admit that the viewing experience was kind of crappy, and that's not because Wadi wasn't good, because Wadi is always good, but Wadi was casting over a clean feed, and then the clean feed started lagging, so then obviously Wadi can't do anything other than broadcast that lag to us. And I feel like this was something I should have been really hyped for, because it was a big deal. It was going on for a long time, and in the end, I didn't quite feel the hype, because the viewing experience was kind of bad. Did you catch anything, Jason?
Oh, I'll give you 3 guesses.
No, no, and no.
There you go, buddy.
All right.
yeah. Judging TLMC like last week. Yeah. And well,
I've-
and the week before that, right? I'm missed out. But yeah, no, just seeing the names, obviously, Maru, DRG, Sauce, Creator, Bunny. Jesus Christ, Dark. This thing is stacked.
Yeah, no, it was really
Oh.
stacked. The World Team
And-
League is a
and
very
the
big deal
boats-
because Team Liquid and
The
Shopify were
BODs.
participating in it throughout the entire year as well. The Shopify Rebellion made the playoffs.
Oh.
Lambo continued what he was doing in the beginning of the year, and that is be awesome. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough because Innovation in his final tournament, by the way, shout out to Inno, he basically all killed the Shopify Rebellion. That was sick. Yes, but yeah, congrats to Maro and the boys then, I guess, for winning the World Team League. Next up, we've got the Alpha X Junior Championships 2021. I'm actually a really big fan of this tournament series. Ryan, I didn't know that Ryan was that young. Apparently making it pretty deep. Ghosty getting a W over first young Jacob and then getting a W over another young European Protoss, Papi, in the final. Look at Ghosty. 15 years of age, winning the Alpha X Junior Championships. This is actually a stacked tournament. I don't know if you are familiar with these guys, Jason, but these kids are all really good. Like, they're all 6K plus MMR players on the European server.
I know Ryan.
Oh, that
Ryan's good.
Yeah.
I haven't played
Oh.
any of the other guys, though.
Young Jacob, Russian Zergi, who made top 4 once of a European Pro Tour Weekly on the European server. Bit fortunate there. But yeah, Ghosty is a guy that actually got some love from Lambo. I don't know if it was during an IEM interview or not. But basically, they asked him if he would have liked to take someone under his wing. And Lambo said, actually, Ghosty is really good. And I can definitely see that this guy has talent. And I would love to kind of teach him for a while if I had the time for it. So, yeah, congrats to Ghosty. That is super cool.
Cool.
Next up, the Storm Esports Network's King of the Hill. Another King of the Hill. Kantu, do you want to talk us through?
Another King of the Hill. No, not honestly. Like I haven't keeping up. Like this, like the type of things that I just miss completely generally, because
Yeah, it's
maps.
a lot of tournaments, to be fair. It's hard to keep track of
No,
everything.
this one is particular. Like the Storm and with X Penguin, I believe. But no, it's just like generally, I can't keep it up with these ones.
Too much
All right.
StarCraft going on, Roddy.
Yep, and the
I
problem
mean-
is as
I
well
mean,
that it's
I'm-
happening on 17 different channels, so it's literally impossible
No,
to
I
keep
mean
track
in my
of
case
everything.
it's like too much work, but not even for TLMC. Like I'm talking like my actual like office and work. But yeah, no.
Let's see if there is one result that really stands out for me here. Vanya getting the dub over Juanito. I guess that's the one
Over
that's really worth
special,
mentioning.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Also, Also, Soul getting a 2-0 over your thermal. Not bad by Soul. Last but not... And Voya actually took down Mana as well. All right, Voya's still the GOAT. That's all I need to see. I see 2 results, and Voya's still the best Zerg in Europe. Moving on, Cobra. PC for Men Super Tournament. How many freaking tournaments are there? This tournament has apparently not started yet, but they can win an AMD CPU 5800X. That's one of these guys is not like the other. Who is it, Jason?
The Samsung portable SSD.
No, I'm talking about the players.
He's
Oh.
not wrong though.
I mean, I wasn't even looking. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good, dude. Looks like a good tournament.
Actually, it looks like a very fun tournament. Cham being the only non-Korean. I mean, this is a stack. When is this taking place? Would be nice to know that. Streamed by Alpha X, Inu, O Gaming TV, Tech TV, Indie, 3D Clan, ALGS, SE Boy, and Enki. All right, well, seems like a proper tournament. Do you know when it's taking place, Cobra?
I do not. Let's open
Alright.
it up in Wikipedia and see if it has something here.
I feel like next time we look at something like this, it'd be useful to know when it starts. Starts on the 14th, ends on the 18th.
That's today.
Okay.
Yep.
That's literally might be live.
Perfect. There you go.
Scroll down. Do we have results yet? Scroll down. Live updates. Oh my goodness, the entire round. Yeah, it's
Hey.
happening.
Chat, what are you doing? Go.
Okay, so Beyond 1, Keen 1, DRG 1, and Zest. Ah, Zest is best. All right, cool. Moving on, matey. The Summer Team League starting on July 10th, 2021. 6 teams advance. Apparently, Genesis Gaming, Save Orange, Udong, and Psystorm Gaming. Congrats, guys. Alpha X Summer Team League. Alpha X runs a lot of stuff, don't they?
Yep, they do.
Awesome. What else do we have? The Archon X, Ryung, Percival, Cyan, nice. All right. Seems like Dandy Prince won. Protoss winning. Are you surprised, Juggernaut Jason?
Nope, not even a little bit.
Kanto, are you surprised?
Yeah, like having a product in there. Then they will start loving. Then they will start loving for changing maps and adding freaking cannon rush spots. Jesus.
Looking at the player lineup, I actually think that the Protoss players are the best there. No Kappa. Cyan and Nice are slightly better than the other guys in that tournament. So, wait, they didn't even win. They lost? No. Yes, they lost the PvP against Dandy and Prince. I guess Prince very good too. Cool. Congrats to the Protoss A-clickers. We're very proud of you. Winner, winner, I'll buy you effing dinner. What a great name. Max Packs 4-0's Beastork, and he's now tied with Gerald at 7 dinners. Wait, who is Beastork? Oh, wait, it's the Hong Kong player. Cool. That's pretty awesome. But that is a different graphic because this one shows us that special one against Bly. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll just take it that they all got dinner. And I'm very jealous of Max Packs, and I'm even more
30
hungry.
bucks worth of takeout delivery, dude. I could buy so much with 30 bucks with that. I'm a cheap guy, but damn, I just need to be the special. I'm Bly. I'm Trigger. Yeah, sure, I can do it. Oof.
I mean, if I look at that picture at top and I see that juicy chicken or whatever it is,
Dude, it's
I'm
making
hungry.
me hungry. Moving on, guys, because I'm starving.
Special shout out to this guy. This is actually some drunk Canadian who has been supporting us for quite a while and has been running the tournament several and 8 months now. He's a great guy.
Passion Lord. All right, we have also Australia winning a pizza. His 6th pizza, apparently. He took out Nightmare 3-2 in the finals, took out Puppy in the semifinals. Starkiller, obviously, still the Pizza Bi-Weekly all-time champ. Future is chasing him. Gerald and Max Pax are on his heels, too. Congrats to Australia, though, for winning 6 of them. Well done, matey. Wadi TV Summer Championships are starting July 27th to August 5th, apparently for the Koreans, and August 17th to August 22nd for Europe. I mean, why are we talking about this? You know we're going to have 27 other StarCraft tournaments before that starts. The DreamHack SC2 returns on the 28th of July, and they want your feedback, so make sure to go over to esl.gg/sc2summer-social, where you guys can tell them that you want more Ruddy and less the Muslim. Just kidding, Ben. I love you. More Ben. More Jason, too. Then we have this week in Brood War, StarCraft 2 Legends, Nick and Dan. All right. There is Brood War stuff happening. Oh, yeah. And Terror getting through. Dragon and Dina getting through. I was like, Peru's dominating, but that's Canada and Peru. Is that a Dutch player or is that a Luxembourgian player? Do you know, Cobra?
I do not know.
S. Ziki? That looks like a Dutch flag.
It's cool to see the Protoss is on top of the scoreboard in this game too.
Turns out it doesn't matter whether you're a StarCraft 2 fan or a Brood War fan. There is a lot of there's a lot of Protoss.
Which player?
Is that Hunger? Yeah, S. Ziki, the Zerg. S. Ziki?
I'm blind right now.
Non-Spanish speaking guest there, mate. Number 5. There's one Zerg on the right. S. Ziki.
Yeah.
Do you not see him? Above, mate. Above.
Oh, there you go. I'm just.
Yeah.
I need more coffee. Hungry.
Oh, Hungary. Damn it. My colors are rough. Meanwhile, we got rated by Lambo. Cheers, matey. Alrighty, moving on. Congrats to the guys that are doing well on this. That's a lot of Root War again. Congrats to Bishop for taking out Dandy. They're playing best of ones. Jason, do you think we should have more best of one tournaments in StarCraft 2 for the memes?
Never. I think it's literally the worst thing.
Why? I think it would be fun. It could give us surprising results and outcomes.
Well, if we wanted to like sit down and be
so
like,
high.
let's imagine some StarCraft. Like that's a best of one. Like let's just pretend that we're gonna play some. That's what you want. It's not really StarCraft.
I actually think it could be fun to run like a 1 day just best of one tournament, double elimination, 128-man bracket, like kind of how the weeklies are run, but then best of one, just to spice things up. And that's when you're really going to see magical runs, like players that normally won't make it all the way in best of 3 and best of 5. Like not to determine like
what
who
was
is
the
the
name
best
of
player,
the-
but yeah. Go ahead.
What was the name of the Korean best of one that you needed to win in order to get your pro gamer card?
I have no idea. I know what you're talking about.
There
Like
was
the
this
whole
huge tournament.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
Red won it, right? And I think Idram maybe did it too. Anyway, moving on, Cobra. What else do you got for me? The Brood War G's weekly? No. ASL 11.
Did you finish talking about this one or not? Sorry.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
Bishop
all
won.
right.
Congrats to him. Jill, Soma, Hero Snow. All right, ASL is still happening, and I guess you guys can also find some of this over at the Tasteless and Artosis YouTube channel where they are casting the VODs. Larva losing 0-4. I'm gonna assume that's surprising. Moving on. Who is this budget Rainer? Okay, I found a budget Rainer. Apparently, what is this game? We're watching the same game. It's Raynor versus Dark in the finals, and budget Rainer takes out Dark 4-1. Is this real, or are you pulling
Wait,
a
that's
short
not
one?
Rainer, or that's just a misspelling.
It's a different Rainer. It's
No,
a
it's in
Brood War player.
Bolivia.
Yeah. All right, awesome. The Liga Pro Gaming Bolivia. Shout out to Raynor with an A. Very proud of you,
Alright.
matey.
Yeah, and shout out to our Bolivian friends.
All right,
Today
the
I
Liga
learned.
StarCraft 2 Chile Season 12. Congrats to PG2, who's the only one in the semifinals of the upper bracket. There is so much regional StarCraft happening. I do think this is very cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I've
and
got
it's
nothing
like
to add.
grassroots. Also in Eastern Europe, like there were like lots of like small Eastern Europe leagues, and there was the South African group, that CSO, that was just starting. Like I'm
Alright.
so happy. Like oh.
What else did
to
we
me
got,
like this is
Cobra?
candy.
That is really cool to see, and grassroots competition is very important. The AMD Red Tournament has been taking place as well. It is an offline tournament broadcast by Ollie Patrick. Shout out to Ollie Patrick for letting his Brood War passion shine. And shout out to, I guess, Terror for doing all right in it. A lot of people are advancing. Check it out, guys. The AMD Red League happening over at Ollie Patrick. Rogues Gallery. The Smack Squad are going to duke it out with the Dogecoin Millionaires in the grand final. You guys can follow this tournament over at twitch.tv/Rogues Gallery BW. Yes. Coach People League 7. That is a lot of text. Cobra, what is this?
I don't know.
You don't know. How can I know?
100, almost 200 players total. Each week.
CPL Season 7 is organized by Laser Snipe. Shout out to Laser Snipe. If you guys are interested in CPL League 7, make sure to check it out. Reach out to Laser Snipe. We're going to move on.
If there's details on some of these things that we skip over, there's a lot of information. Just go to our website, check out the show notes, dive into whatever you want to look at further.
Yeah,
That sounds
with the
awesome.
Coach Pupil League is dedicated for Brood War guys. So be sure to take it on, because in Brood War it's like it's you need like that kind of stuff. But
This is
carry on.
this seems very fun. The Russian Cyber Games 2021. There's actually some very big national competitions in like Russia and Ukraine. Sometimes I know Skilless not too long ago won the Russian StarCraft 2 championships. This seems to be mostly Brood War related, and they will compete in an offline environment in Vladivostok. Do you know where Vladivostok is, Juggernaut Jason?
Nope. What
All right.
continent is that in?
I mean, it's in Russia, but it's basically next to China, and yeah, it's basically further away from Moscow than Beijing would be.
Oh, okay.
It's like on the very, very end. It's actually pretty close to America, then I guess. Yeah,
It's
Vladivostok.
beyond the American server, basically.
Almost, but they're playing offline apparently for over $10,000. So that's really cool. Shout out to Rush_Brain. We still have the ASL Testosis English casting support Patreon happening as well. $13,000 a month. Well, seems like they're crushing it. Very happy for the boys, obviously.
That's
Brood
about
War
it.
Legends. And that is going to
So
do
we
it.
do have a note here. If you're trying to get something featured in This Week in StarCraft, it's very, very helpful if you get it to us by Monday of the week, because we have the show on a Wednesday. So it does take time to compile all of that stuff and put it together. So the sooner you get into us, the better. Helps with a lot of that stuff. Here's a fancy splash page we have if you're interested in getting involved in StarCraft or want some tutorial stuff, blah, blah, blah. And that's about it.
And thank you for the Patreons for supporting, for being able to like compile all of this, because it's a huge amount of work just going through it. Thank you, Gaura.
You're welcome. Alessandra does most of the work for This Week in StarCraft. We are trying to make sure she gets reimbursed out of that fund if she will accept it, and that's about it.
We're gonna make her accept it. Okay,
Pretty
we're
much.
gonna make the Pilot Show great again, the Patreon great again. It's gonna happen. All right, guys. That was honestly a very long episode. 3 hours of almost non-stop talking. Jason, I still feel like there is more in you. I feel like I
yeah.
haven't given you all the room to talk. I feel like you were not maybe always able to formulate all your thoughts after this 3-hour marathon. What do you truly want to say to me, to Kontu, about maps and the people at home?
No, it's okay, my dude. Honestly, this vaccine has got me so tired. I don't even know what happened in the show, but I think we nailed everything that like needs to happen moving forward to have a better system. So I think we, even though it was a
Yeah.
pretty misguided conversation for the most part, I think we nailed the hard hitting question. So I think I'm happy with everything. There's
you
more I
think
could have
that we're-
talked about, but yeah.
Do you also think that there will be change, though?
I can only hope, my dude.
All right. Well, I obviously really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know it's been a very long show. I already said it before. You are the Pilot Show Streamer of the Week. Twitch.tv/Juggernaut Jason.
Love you,
I know you're
bud.
streaming a lot, mate. What else are you up to, and where else can people follow your journey if they want to?
Yeah, it's literally twitch.tv/Juggernaut Jason. I'm trying to stream 6 days a week, just literally trying to get good at Protoss. That's all I'm doing right now. It's the only thing.
Kontu, thank you so much, mate, for taking a lot of time out of your day and be very passionate about maps. I do think it is important, before I give you the final word, that one more time, map makers are loved and map makers are appreciated by everyone that actually cares about
Aw.
this game and is not a total dickhead. Obviously, sometimes feedback goes wrong, but I hope you know that we would never encourage anyone to actually be an absolute baboon to map makers. That stuff sucks and shouldn't happen in the first place. Thank you for joining us. What are the final words, and where can we find you?
You guys can find me, rather than Twitter, it will be better on mapcave.net/Discord. That's the invite link to our Discord server, and you guys can find basically all the Western map makers. There are Korean map makers as well that also dwell on our Discord, on our little map cave. Mappers Circle is the name. I believe that's basically it. Like when it comes to map makers, the best thing that you guys can do is just, if you see a map maker publishing like a thread, be it on Reddit or Twitter or Team Liquid or even Battle.net, just reach out for feedback and just like see, hey, like whatever idea that you may have, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it's a bad idea, but if you write it out, the mapper can get like at least some feedback and get like used to receiving feedback. That's important to like weight what's important, what isn't. That's more than anything else. Like that alone will help a lot to like all the map makers as a class, as a system of
Oh,
Whoops.
all
I
right.
think we lost
people,
you.
as a group, and just like enjoy playing the maps, and that's it because they are published on Battle.net. Oh, you guys lost me a little bit.
Now you're
Yeah,
good.
okay. Well, we got you towards the
Hopefully,
end, and I
Roti.
think I think your point was made, so it's
Yeah, no,
all good.
just like reach out to map makers. Like, I'm sorry, it started raining like a lot, and I'm using like a 4G connection that is like all that I have available. So the water is like sucking up all the internets. But anyhow,
Well,
that's it basically. Uh, mapcave.net/Discord. That is where you guys can find me most easily than anything.
all right, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for speaking on behalf of all the map makers out there. And just know that at the end of the day, I think we all want the same, and we all just want to make things better. I enjoyed it. It was kind of a painful discussion, but it was still fun regardless. And I think we just hopefully
No,
everything will be a lot better in the future. And I really think there are so many easy ways, like Jason said as well. Like we can make this as complicated as it needs to be, but it can also be simple. And sure, maybe not everyone will always be happy that certain maps make it and that, but that's not important. The most important thing is that everyone A feels appreciated and B it's doable and not all the work is on not just your shoulders but the shoulder of 2 or 3 people. Like it currently it doesn't work and that's okay. When something doesn't work, we come together and we find out a way to make things work. And I'm pretty sure with all that Shopify and Coinbase support that ESL can come up with something that functions a little bit better than the TLMC currently does. And I think that's going to do it. Cobra, do you have any final words for the show before I send the viewers home?
Oh, that's it. Send them off.
All right. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in today. I think it was a very long show, maybe slightly longer than I wanted it to go for. On top of that, there are definitely many things that we want to improve, and we will keep improving. Obviously, always feel free to join the Pilot Show over at Discord, where you guys can let us know what you think about the shows or things that you want us to talk about. I have a little dedicated channel on my own Discord as well, where if you guys want to give feedback or certain wishes, feel free to let us know. I know that Cobra and Alexander and the rest and we are very committed to making the Pilot Show awesome again. Make it a consistent thing. It should always happen every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central European time, unless the DreamHack seasons are going on, and they go on for a long time. Then we'll probably do it on the Wednesday morning. So then it will truly be EU. But you guys know where to find all the podcasts. Make sure to check out the Pilot Show over at YouTube as well. They have a dedicated brand new YouTube channel where we're going to upload everything. And I believe that is truly going to do it. The final words are your Cobra, because this is still your baby. But that's it for me. Good night.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Good night.